Welcome to the Saturday Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Tam McManus is alongside me as we bring you the half-time reports from across the Scottish Premiership, and we'll be delving into the Championship today. We'll also have more than a few topics that you can discuss with us and engage. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We've got competitions, we've got quiz, and of course we'll have reaction from the managers and players. Quick summary of one game that's finished already. It's the Edinburgh Derby. It was Hibs 1, Hearts 0. Elsewhere in the Scottish Premiership, it's Livingston leading at half-time by 2-0 against St Johnstone. Motherwell leading by 1-0 over Dundee United. And Rangers 1, St Mirren 1. Quick early reaction from yourself, Tam, to that Hibs win.
Delighted, absolutely thrilled for everyone at Hibs. I think it's been 9 games since Hibs beat Hearts, so I think they'll be celebrating long into the night, but it looks as if there's still a little bit of work to be done to get into the top 6 with Livingston 2-0 up. But in terms of the game today, I thought Hibs thoroughly deserved to win. I thought from start to finish they were the better team. They could have scored a couple of more goals, to be honest. I thought Hearts were really poor, and Hearts deserved to win. It takes the pressure off the manager, but as I said, they've still got one more game left away to St Johnstone. It looks as if they might need to win that to get in the top 6.
Yeah, let's get a quick assessment of the game at Livingston. We'll hear from, incidentally, the two managers, Lee Johnson and the interim manager at Hearts, Stevie Naismith, very shortly. But let's go to Livingston first of all, because our reporter Alice McConnell sums up the first 45 minutes.
Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0. This has been a dominant performance from David Martindale's side, who are well worth this lead as they have showcased all the qualities that have made them a viable top 6 contender this term. Joe Nouble has been a persistent menace for the St Johnstone defence to cope with, and it was no real surprise when he claimed the opening goal of this game. Bruce Anderson deserved credit for the pass that led to the goal as he played the ball into him. Nouble held off Dre Wright before arching his effort well beyond the reach of St Johnstone goalkeeper Remy Matthews. Anderson thought he doubled Livingston's advantage, only for VAR to rule the effort offside, but it was a stay of execution for St Johnstone, with Stephen Kelly netting an exquisite free kick shortly afterwards to give Livingston a commanding 2-0 lead. St Johnstone have offered very little in this game other than a Jamie Murphy cross from the left, which was met with the head of Conor McLennan. However, his effort was straight into the arms of Livingston keeper Jamal George. An uphill battle for Callum Davidson's side to find any way back into this game at the minute. It's Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0.
Yeah, Livingston in command in that game, and that's making it equally nervy for Hibs going down to the wire in that last game.
It is. I think a lot of Hibs fans would have been looking for the dream double result today, beating Hearts and Livingston not winning, but it looks as if Livingston are on their way to claiming 3 points, which would keep them in the hunt, 1 point behind. So still a wee bit of work to do, but St Johnstone, they're in free fall at the minute. They are really, really struggling, and they're going to come up against a Hibs team next week who need to win to get in the top 6, so they're in a wee bit of bother. I think they're relying on other teams round about the bottom to keep losing rather than them winning.
Yep. Elsewhere, I can tell you, this could be the day when I think Dunfermline, Tam, could be celebrating winning the title. They're 2-0 up at the moment.
Yep, they win the league today, and it'd be great to see one of my old clubs back in the Championship. Speaking to Stevie Crawford last night, an ex-Dunfermline player who I think is going to the game as well, so a wonderful job, James McPake's done. I think they've won 20 or 21 league games, in a season. That is a fantastic record, and they're well on their way, so it'll be a great atmosphere just now at East End Park waiting to win the league.
And of course in the Championship it's going right down to the wire. Of course Queen's Park got that good win over Hamilton Accies last night by 1-0, but Dundee under a wee bit of pressure, and we'll keep you up to date with all the Championship scores as well as going into League 1 and League 2 as well in the Scottish division. We'll look at the English Premier League. We've got Ali Graham out there in the Championship watching Partick Thistle against Ayr United. Certainly is a match with a lot at stake. Here's his assessment of the first 45 minutes.
Half time here at Firhill, and it's Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 0. It was the away side that actually had the first chance of the game inside 2 minutes when Sam Ashford controlled the ball 6 yards out, but his angled shot went straight into the arms of David Mitchell. Scott Tiffany then got on to the end of a cutback from Steve Lawless, but ballooned over from 8 yards. But it was the little striker who got on the score sheet in 15 minutes. A tremendous pass into Brian Graham's chest. He laid it off to Tiffany, who raced through and hammered home from 18 yards. Half time at Firhill, it's Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 0.
Yeah, Ali Graham there for us in the Championship, keeping us up to date with that one. But certainly when you look at Partick Thistle, they want to be obviously into that playoff place. Promised so much earlier on the season, changed the manager. Doolan seems to have got more out of them since he's taken over.
Yeah, he has. I think a lot of people were surprised when Ian McCall got the sack at Partick Thistle, but at the minute it's looking like a decent decision because they're on a great run of form at the minute. They're not completely out of the title race at the minute. I think they are if Dundee managed to win today, but I think second place is still up for grabs as well, and I think second place obviously would give you two extra less games in the playoffs rather than third and fourth. So Partick Thistle seem to be a team in form at the minute.
Yeah, let's find out about the story of the first 45 minutes of Fir Park with Patrick Mullen.
I'm here at Fir Park and it's Motherwell 1, Dundee United 0. It's that man once again, Kevin Van Veen, with his 24th goal of the season. That one came in the 21st minute. He's picked the ball up on the edge of the box, played a quick 1-2 with Max Johnson to take it around the Dundee United defender. He's initially shot, Verighetti saved it well, but it fell back to the feet of Van Veen, who doesn't miss his chance twice and puts the ball into the back of the net to give Motherwell the deserved lead. It hasn't been an eventful first half. Dundee United have had the majority of the possession but couldn't convert that into chances. So at half-time here at Fir Park, it's Motherwell 1, Dundee United 0.
Van Veen, he's just been super, hasn't he?
He has. He's been a fantastic season. I think he's 32 years old. He's maybe thinking to himself, this is my season to get maybe one more big move. I don't think he'll be
You love one more big move.
That's what I would think. If I was 32 and I'd banged in goals for Motherwell, I'd be thinking I'd one more decent move in me. But he's been absolutely tremendous this season. I think he spoke after the Hibs game about scoring 30 goals, and a few people went, "Can your Jets?" he might score 30 goals. I think he scored 2 last week and one already today. So, if he scores 30 goals in a league season for Motherwell, the last person that done that did win Player of the Year.
Yeah,
Michael Higdon.
He's definitely going to be a nominee. I mean, the actual votes are out in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So now, as we head towards the split, players will be voting for their fellow professionals. So it'll be interesting. Give us your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be Player of the Year? Who do you think is going to be a nominee in the Scottish Premiership? And then we'll look down the divisions as well at some of the star players out and about as well. We've got one match that we are hoping to go to at Ibrox. I think Kerry Pollock has watched that first 45 minutes.
Half-time here at Ibrox and the scoreline reads Rangers 1, St Mirren 1. Rangers could have had an early opener through James Tavernier from the penalty area after Nicholas Raskin was brought down in the box, but very unlike the Rangers skipper to be denied, but it was today by Trevor Carson. Rangers eventually got the opening goal through Todd Cantwell. It was a great through ball from Alfredo Morelos onto James Tavernier, a low cross into the penalty area, and Cantwell found the roof of the net. But then just on the brink of the half-time whistle there in added time, as St Mirren were starting to threaten the Rangers goal. They weren't doing much up until then, but it was a fantastic strike from Mark O'Hara from the centre of goal right into the left-hand corner, giving Alan McGregor no chance in sending the St Mirren fans into hysteria here at Ibrox. A big second half coming up for both sides as it stands here at the break at Ibrox. Rangers 1, St Mirren 1.
Yeah, unlike James Tavernier to miss a penalty, he's usually so clinical from 12 yards.
Yeah, he is. I was surprised to hear that, and obviously on the radio coming in, heard he'd missed a penalty kick, but I said it yesterday in the show. I went for a narrow 2-1 win to Rangers, and I was very, very close to going for a one each, because I thought St Mirren would go and make it difficult for Rangers today, and they seem to have done that in the first half. Rangers obviously still favourites to go and win the second half, but looks as if it's going to be a tight game there, and I think 1 point would confirm St Mirren in the top 6. So, they'll be going all out to try and nick that point. Yeah,
in the Championship, it's Raith Rovers 1, Arbroath 1, an equaliser there. O'Brien's got the equaliser for Dick Campbell's side. Just a quick summary of all the divisions and what's been happening as we're into the second half now. Well, one match that finished, we'll be hearing from Lee Johnson and Stevie Naismith shortly, I can tell you. We'll also be hearing from Ange Postecoglou and Derek McInnes ahead of the match at Rugby Park tomorrow, Kilmarnock against Celtic. It's Hibs 1, Hearts 0 finished the Edinburgh Derby at Easter Road. The goal coming from Nisbet, and it was possibly the only bit of real quality inside that 18-yard area. He was composed and cool and calmly slotted it into the roof of the net to give them all 3 points. We'll hear from the manager shortly. Livingston 2-0 up in St Johnstone. Motherwell with Kevin Van Veen again banging in another goal. That's the difference between them and Dundee United at Fir Park. Rangers 1, St Mirren 1, as you just heard there from Kerry. In the Championship, Ali Graham summed up Partick Thistle leading with that Scott Tiffany goal by a goal to nil. It's Cove Rangers Inverness Caley Thistle 0-0. Dundee have got a bit of work to do. They're 1-1 at the moment at Dens Park with Morton. Wraith Rovers 1, Arbroath 1, as I just mentioned. And I can tell you, Fashion Sakala has just scored for Rangers. They're now 2-1 up in that match against St Mirren. So a crucial goal for him. Into League 1, Clyde 2, Edinburgh 1, Dunfermline 2, Queen of the South 0. Could be a great day there at East End Park. Falkirk 1, Airdronians 0. Kelty Hearts and Alloa Athletic, beg your pardon, are 0-0. And Montrose 1, Peterhead 0. In League 2, it's Annan 2, Albion Rovers 0. Bonnyrigg Rose and Dumbarton 0-0. East Fife 3, Stranraer 0. Elgin City 2, Forfar Athletic 0. And no goals between Stenhousemuir and Stirling Albion. And into the English Premier League, I can tell you a shock one there. Aston Villa thumped Newcastle by 3-0, Tom.
They did, and Unai Emery's doing an absolutely phenomenal job. They're sitting sixth. I mean, they're not. There's no without the realms of possibility they could get into the top four. I think they're the form team in that league. They're flying. Newcastle obviously they're doing well as well. So, you know, what would have been if he'd got in earlier at Aston Villa? But he's transformed them into a very, very good side at the minute.
Yeah, well, he's always been a good manager and a great record in Spain.
A good evening for him.
Yeah, it will be. There you are. You're going to get battered, by the way, for somebody who speaks Spanish. I know a guy who'll be raging with you. Chelsea 1, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Danny Welbeck getting the equaliser for Brighton. A big game at Goodison Park. Boy, Everton need the points today. They're 1-1 with Fulham. Southampton 0, Crystal Palace 0. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Brentford 0. And Tottenham 1, Bournemouth 1. You know, it's funny actually, when you look at Tottenham 1, Bournemouth 1, Son has scored the goal in that match, but he's only got 55 goals to go, Harry Kane, and he will go past Alan Shearer's record of 260. I think it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think if he gets a move, there's a lot of talk at the minute. You know, Bayern Munich obviously interested. I think every big club in Europe would be interested in Harry Kane, but no, I think he'll do it, Peter, if he stays in the Premier League until he retires and doesn't pick up any big injuries. Then I think he'll surpass Shearer. Yeah,
Cove Rangers 1, Inverness 0. Ian Vigurs.
I think it's the first time we've ever seen Cove Rangers are winning a game on this show.
Well, not only that, but Ian Vigurs is a former Inverness player, so that'll be a wee bit special for him. I liked Ian Vigurs. He came down to Mullow, it didn't quite work out for him. He's got a nice left foot on him.
He is, and he's also one of the most booked players in Scottish football history. I don't know if you knew that.
Is that right?
Yeah, he is. He absolutely loves a booking.
Yeah.
My mates used to bet him every time to get a booking for Inverness or Ross County or whoever he played with. He likes a tackle, as well as being a decent player.
Yep, absolutely. There are a few who have that kind of a feeling that you always pronounce their name and then yellow card after. Alex Gogic springs to mind. Alex likes a tackle as well. But anyway, I can't tell you, we're going to hear from Stevie Naismith and a delighted Lee Johnson. But first and foremost, our man Adam Binney is out there. I thought it was great. Adam did a fantastic job last week. Bit cheeky of him to ask the viewers who they prefer, him or me. But I thought, well, there you are. It's Gallus Adam. Why not?
He is shyness. He's actually saying that the ratings went through the roof this week. I can confirm that.
Yeah, I can't. Listen, I'm not going to argue with him. He did a brilliant job, and he's out there at Easter Road for us, and I've got to try and get his thoughts on. First of all, Adam, in your mind, Hibs worthy winners?
Yeah, I would say Hibs are worthy winners, and I think that sentiment was shared by Manson as well. I think the first kind of hour or so, Hibs were the better team without creating too many chances. Obviously, when they scored the goal, they sat in and tried to defend from there on in. Hearts were the better side, but they created absolutely nothing in the game. I think Naismith was telling us after it that at best Hearts created average chances. But yeah, Hibs worthy winners, and in a long time, I'm sure you'll discuss it, but you hear the Hearts fans chanting, "Here we go, 10 in a row," before the game had started, but it wasn't to be, and by the end those fans were shut up by the Hibs fans. So I have to say at the end, Peter, I was telling you through the week, it's my first ever Edinburgh derby. I've never been to one, and hearing that sunshine release at the end, it gives you goosebumps, hairs on the back of your neck. It was absolutely fantastic, and an honour to get to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's one of those spine-chilling moments, isn't it, Tom? I mean, when you hear the whole ground just burst into it. I always remember John Collins being the manager at Hampden Park for the cup final, League Cup final, and it was just amazing to hear that. Yeah,
it's one of the best anthems, in British football. I think that there's there's not a greater sight. You know, the Scottish Cup final, for example, was something that will live long in the memory. You know, there's 25,000 Hibs fans singing that, and I was lucky enough to play in derby games at Easter Road, which we won, and then that came on at the end, and you just wandered around the park and soaked it all in. So, listen, I think the Hibs deserved it, and I think the players, the manager, everybody will go and enjoy their night, because as Adam said there, it's been 9 games since Hibs beat Hearts, a long run. You know, I thought we're approaching Ruffy territory. You know, I think he was 16. Listen, I'm glad that Hibs won, but as I said, they're still going to have work to do. Livingston seem to be keeping the pressure on them, so they've got one more game to go. If they win that, they're in the top 6, and then I think third's still up for grabs. Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs, I think they're all in the mix.
Yeah, looks as if Aberdeen is certainly in the box seat after last night as well. Adam, who was the star man for you? Was there a standout in the match? I thought at times, watching the game, it was... You know, I mean, there wasn't a lot of quality in that final third. Only Nisbet with that, you know, calm finish. But who was the standout player for you overall? Because you're getting a better appreciation of it.
Well, I think players from both sets of team have clearly been watching myself training at Livingston, because I think every one of them were just about as underwhelming as me on that day. I think the quality of game is actually really poor. It was lifted and carried by the fact it was a derby game, and there was crunching tackles, there was flash points, and the fans were brilliant. That's what brought the excitement, because objectively I thought that the standard on show from both teams was poor, and both managers admitted that. If you had to go for a star man, for me it'd be Paul Hanlon at the back, was absolutely mammoth. Lee Johnson just a moment ago actually described him as the big daddy that they needed at the back to look after the younger ones, and his experience certainly shone through, and I think he's been getting a little bit of stick this season, Hanlon, from the Hibs fans. I know he's maybe not quite the player he once was, but today, wow, he was absolutely massive at the back for Hibs. So my man in the match would be that man, Paul Hanlon.
And just before you go, Adam, I've got to get your thoughts. I know that you did a brilliant job prior to it, speaking to some of the fans. The general feeling I got prior to the game kicking off was they were looking and saying if Hibs were to lose this, Johnson out was the real feeling I got from the majority of supporters you were speaking to. Was there a sense of relief, do you think, from not only the fans, but maybe people looking and thinking, surely not another sacking?
Well, it was interesting to hear from Lee Johnson after the game, because he keeps speaking about every time this pressure is brought up to him, or is he worried about his job, he always responds about this long-term project. And interestingly, I know you said about the video earlier on, there was one thing I wasn't able to include the video because the answer was too long from the fan, but he says that he doesn't think Hibs are able to actually afford to sack their manager. They're giving out really lengthy contracts for the guys that are in charge. Obviously, in the last 18 months, I think they've lost £1.5 million. They're still paying off previous managers like Paul Heckingbottom. So I don't think the club are going to get rid of Lee Johnson, but definitely I think that the win today has relieved a little bit of pressure that might have been on Lee Johnson from the fans. But yeah, hearing from the fans before it, I think had they lost this one, it would have definitely been pressure for his head. But he's bought himself a little bit of time with this one. First manager since I think Jack Ross in 2019 to beat Hearts, so he'll be buzzing with that one.
Absolutely fantastic. Great to hear from Adam as ever. And he mentioned there he's been in talking to Lee Johnson and Stevie Naismith. This is what Lee Johnson made of this one, obviously dedicating it to the supporters.
It felt like a great win, yeah. So it was quite emotional at the end, wasn't it? It felt that way in terms of, you know, we're desperate to... It's a brilliant club, this, from board to fans to, you know, playing staff to academy. And desperate to do well, and I felt that we owed something, if you like, to the fan base, and they deserved that one. So that's certainly for them, and I'm sure Ron as well would have been looking down on us, and he'd have enjoyed that one himself.
Lee Johnson, he loves milking it for everything, doesn't he? I mean, he's good copy when you get into a press conference. Never a dull moment.
He has great copy, and we spoke about it yesterday. I think the media would be devastated if he gets sacked and if he went back down to England, because he always comes out with a line that you can use in the newspapers or whatever. But listen, that result, that Adam's right, it buys him a bit of time. I think the pressure was on him today. I think that if Hearts came and rolled over Hibs again, then I don't think he'd have won the job. I think it buys him time. I think the top 6 obviously buys him time as well, and then he gets another window, and then you never know what's going to happen with another window. So massive result, not just for the players and the fans, but for him. And they thoroughly deserved it, Peter. I thought from start to finish, as I said, I thought Hibs were bang at it, and it wasn't a great game of football. Paul Hanlon was superb, but my man of the match was Joe Neal.
Yeah.
I thought he was colossal in the middle of the park. I thought Jake Doyle-Hayes was great, but I think most of the better players were in the Hibs jersey.
Yeah. As far as goals coming in, I can tell you it's Dundee 1, Morton 2. So that really is a body blow for Dundee there. They were hoping to hunt down Queen's Park. Is there going to be a twist in the tail here this afternoon in the Championship? Don't forget, we've got Ali Graham keeping his eye on Partick Thistle and Ayr United. Thistle leading by that goal through Scott Tiffany. Here's what Stevie Naismith, the interim Hearts manager, made of the game.
I didn't think there was too much in the game. I didn't think it was a great game. Lacked a bit of quality, but we didn't have enough of a threat to win it. That's my opinion on it. And one moment really cost us, one set play moment. I thought overall we defended their direct play and their long balls and their threats in terms of individuals really well. And we've changed a bit in terms of how we defend, and that shows that they have taken it in. But then one moment costs you the 3 points really.
Yeah, there's always that defining moment. It was a calm finish from Kevin Nisbet, and he'll be absolutely delighted with that. We did talk about it to Adam about the doubters, the people who might have been calling for Lee Johnson's head. I don't think the Hibs manager's too bothered about that.
I think the doubters, I've never been upset with doubters, you know what I mean? Like, I think my feeling is always that, I think this is a bit of a doer-upper of a club. There's hopefully a director of football coming in that'll add some football now. We're going to invest in the training pitches, we're investing in the infrastructure, the recruitment department. And sometimes the crescendo builds, doesn't it, in Scottish football? Depending, there's not 10 teams, if you like, outside the top two that are fighting, and every win or loss, it feels absolutely dramatic. But we want to stay consistent. We've got a project here, and it's a brilliant project. It's a brilliant club, but I suppose we've got to be allowed the space as well. And I'm happy for the fans to feel however they want to feel, because I know that they'll come back round with us when we put in performances like that.
Yeah, so a happy Lee Johnson. Yeah, that was a 1-0 win for Hibs. Elsewhere, it's Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0 at the moment. Motherwell a goal up in Dundee United, and Rangers leading St Mirren by 2-1 after Mark O'Hara apparently scored a special volley, but Fashion Sakala has restored Rangers' advantage. 2-1 at the moment at Ibrox, and Kerry will give us all the full-time assessment of the 90 minutes at Ibrox, plus of course reaction from both managers. Elsewhere, as we mentioned there, Greenock Morton 2-1 up in Dundee at Dens Park in the Championship. What about Hearts? That's 6 consecutive defeats. It's not great for the Hearts fans. In fact, it's painful. And as Aberdeen defeated Ross County last night, that gives them that solid position in third place, although Stephen Naismith, I don't think, wants to get embroiled in can you finish third.
I'm confident these players can turn around and start winning games, is what I would say. The club have got an expectation of being in Europe and finishing as high up as they can every year. That shouldn't change. But since I've come in and since being around the players, there's no chat of third. We'll go into each game. We need to give ourselves a chance of that by winning games. It's no a case of, this is gone, so that's third out the window. If you don't win games, you don't give yourself a chance yet. So it's really just about winning games for me.
Yeah, I think he's got to concentrate on that rather than everybody thinking, third, because you start becoming obsessed with what Aberdeen are doing. You just got to suddenly get Hearts back on track, because as I mentioned to you there, you just look at their form, and their form is just 6 straight defeats.
Yeah, I can't believe it actually. I mean, I look at that Hearts team and the squad of players they've got. I think they've got the third highest budget in the league as well. So listen, I just think that they're going through a really, really poor run at the moment. Aberdeen, 5 points clear. They've got a tough game next week against Rangers, but that's a considerable gap at the minute. And we all know the Richies up for grabs for third place, Peter. We've seen the Hearts last year. 1 game away from the Europa League group stages and getting into the Conference League and all the money they got from that. So if Aberdeen can claim that all of a sudden from thinking Hearts have got a chance to really dominate that third place and pull closer to Celtic Rangers, they've got another club who are going to possibly do that in Aberdeen. So no, they've got to take it game by game, but they're on a really, really bad run at form at the minute.
Yeah, Niskanen has equalised for Dundee United at Fir Park. It's Motherwell 1, Dundee United 1 in that match. Thanks to so many of you for offering your opinion on not only both of us sitting here in the studio, but as far as the games are concerned, and of course some of the questions we posed to you. Paul Brady says Callum McGregor or Hatate Player of the Year for me. You might want to give us who you think the nominees should be for Player of the Year in the Premier League. Who will be the Manager of the Year? Is it a simple shoe-in for Ange Postecoglou? Give us your thoughts on that. Hi to Stuart Derrick, who's in Carnoustie. So many people actually just talking to us and telling us where they are. And Catherine Kelly says, welcome back, Peter. You were missed. I was in sunny Spain, which was absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But I knew Adam was a safe pair of hands. As you are probably well aware, we've got a lovely mix of young reporters and experienced journalists and former players out at the games, and of course here in the studio. I think you're in for a few surprises with some of our one-to-ones coming up, and of course no shortage of lovely documentaries, many documentaries. You can still watch David Martindale, which is certainly an excellent insight into a manager's job over the course of a week preparing up to a game. And as far as some of the other I can't tell you, Morton have just scored another one. It's now Dundee 1, Morton 3. Just quickly on that, we've got the competition and the quiz. The quiz is a tough one, I think, Tam. Even you might struggle with this one, but I thought we'd throw in a quickie on the quiz here. How many different Champions League winners has there been since 1955? Obviously, it was known as the European Cup then. You want to have a go at that one? How many different teams have won it? You've obviously got
35.
35. And I can tell you it's Rangers 2, St Mirren 2. What a game it is at Ibrox. Ahara has got another goal.
Wow, as I said, they're in good form at the minute, St Mirren, and I did fancy them to run Rangers close today, 2-1, but it might be 3-2. St Mirren might even go and win the game now, but yeah, listen, this could be Michael Beale's first kind of drop points outside of Celtic today. Yeah, absolutely. And a wee word on Ahara, by the way, because I'm looking at his contribution. I mean, that's 12 for the season now. He's a player that kind of bounced around a wee bit. I think he was at Dundee, he was at Motherwell, he was at different clubs, and he just seems to have found a home at St Mirren. I think he went down to Peterborough as well. Yeah. So no, Kilmarnock. He's now maybe approaching the peak of his career. He's got confidence, and he's in a team where the manager rates him. He's just signed a longer term deal as well. So yeah, he's hitting the best form of his life at the minute, Mark O'Hara.
Yeah, okay, you can give us your thoughts on that. And also, by the way, I have to tell you, we're going to pick our Grand National horses as well, because Shadal has just said to us, Shadaya, I beg your pardon, has just said, what about Grand National picks? Have you got a couple of...
I've got them all in my back pocket there. I've got the mother-in-laws, I've got the wives, I've got the mother-in-law's pals, so I think between them they should at least get the winner.
Well, I was going to say to you, on the Grand National situation, are you one of those people who, and I'm just putting them up so that I can give you the exact two horses that I've picked, but are you one of those guys, I would imagine, who looks into their form and everything? No?
I think it's difficult to do that in the Grand National. I think sometimes you're better just picking a number or a name or something.
Yeah. Do you remember that day I picked the 80-1 winner, Tam? I mean, honestly, you were the only one that was happy for
the viewers. He had a tenner on a horse at Hamilton, and it won at 80-1. And the same money goes to money, and I was the only person in the whole hospitality that was actually playing for him. Everybody was raging.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody else in the whole of Hamilton races backed that horse.
Absolutely. I have to tell you, Tam, even when I played football, most of my mates, because I was, gobby, they weren't happy when I scored goals because they knew what it was going to be like in the dressing room. But anyway, I'm just trying to get it up here, Tam. The Grand National runners and riders, to see if we can get exactly who I put the horse. Who did you put yours on first of all?
Right, so I've got number 6, which I think is called Capodanno.
Right.
I've got number 13, which I think is Galliard du Mesnil.
All right. Any easy ones to pronounce?
And my mother-in-law's, I think, is back Galvin and something else. But me personally, I've backed Corach Rambler, Lucinda Russell's horse, which is the Scottish horse. I've been at a couple of dinners with Lucinda and Peter Scudamore. They're big supporters of a charity that I support, funding Neuro. So I would absolutely love for Korak Rambler to win it. They just lost one for Arthur, who won it a few years ago. So Kinross Trainer, hopefully they win the big race today for Scotland.
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish trained horses in it as well.
There's loads of Irish trained horses. Obviously they all come over and they're all fancied as well. But as you said, it's a lot of potluck, Peter. It's 40 runners.
Yeah. And
you've got to go 4 miles, I think 2, and jump about 40 fences. So I mean, things can fall and bring you down and all that. So a bit of luck involved, but hopefully Korak Rambler's there at the end.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking here, and I think my daughter.
Whatever you back, I would get the viewers to back, because you are the luckiest guy I've ever met in my life.
Is that right?
81 shots. So whatever Peter says, I would put a fiver on it.
Well, my daughter's gone for Ain't That a Shame, but the 2 horses that I've picked to try and do as a turn in this one, and I'm looking here and I'm thinking to myself, where the hell have they gone? Just as I was looking for them there, they've all disappeared. I'll try and come up with the names of them, but nevertheless, as soon as I find the horses that I put some, there it is there, Show More, so that might give us a wee chance to see exactly.
There you go, this is maybe a better one to go.
Oh, that's a good one. That's it. Right, okay, I'll tell you, I'll know it as soon as I see it. Any second now.
Right.
Goal for Dundee United, penalty. McGrath, Jamie McGrath has scored, so they're 2-1 ahead now at Fir Park. That's gone on its head, hasn't it?
That has gone on its head. I mean, a lot of people would have fancied Motherwell to win that game comfortably, but fair play to Dundee United. That result last week seems to have gave them a wee bit of impetus to go and try and get off the bottom. And if you're a St Johnstone fan, all of a sudden, from being relatively safe the last 2 or 3 weeks, you are getting dragged deep into the mire.
Mr. Incredible, and any second now.
Right, so I would urge every viewer not put a horse on you to back the 2 horses, because one of them will win.
Yeah, okay. And if
gamble responsibly, just put a 5 on.
I was just about to say, well, that much. Anyway, I think I was, as a kid, 50 pence on Aldaniti, and I was absolutely delighted. Ayr United have scored. It's now Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 1. Akinyemi has scored. He's a good player. I think he'll get a move.
Yep, he's scored a lot of goals. He's scored a lot of goals for United this season. And again, if you need a goal scorer up there, if you're going to do anything at all, but that's the battle for the playoff places is massive as well, because you've got Morton who are winning. You've got Inverness who are drawing. Partick Thistle United. Yeah. There's a few clubs in the mix.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, I can tell you Inverness, winning 2-1 at Cove Rangers, 3-2 now between Dundee and Morton. Partick Thistle 1, United 1, Wraith Rovers 1, Arbroath 1. I think there's another goal in Dundee. I don't know, I've got a feeling that something might happen up there. Listen, I vowed actually with my brothers never to play golf, but because I was out in Spain with my nephew, I thought he wanted to play a round in a 9-hole.
Have you got the video for that? No,
I'm not going to show I'm not going to show the video on here. I might get it for midweek to see it. I'll get it for Monday, right?
And honestly, if there's any golfers and they see you teeing off 6 yards in front of the tee box.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Do you know what, actually, and we were out there and we were having a few jars and we were having a laugh, and some people who are real boffins like yourself were on the Facebook saying, by the way, you were going to get a penalty point because you're ahead of the tee. And I was dying to say, why don't you go and take a running? Because at the end of the day,
when you're doing running, I bet you cut the corner at the cones and all that, try and steal a wee bit of something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Do you know why I do that?
That's what I thought with the golf.
Do you know why I do that? Because the first marathon I ever ran, Tam, if you don't run the inside blue line, which is 26.2 miles, if you run on the outside, you end up running 27 miles.
No.
So, if there's a corner to be cut, Tam, if there's a ball to be kicked out of the rough, I'm your man. So, we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. I'll get that for Monday. What about the competition? Golf in mind, Tam, is on the prize.
This week's competition is a chance for you to play a round of golf with Tam McManus against myself and Frank McAvenny.
To enter, you must subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question. Which World Cup did Frank McAvenny and Alan Rough both play in? Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, magic. I'll tell you, that's going to... Do you know why that's a great prize, Tam?
Because
even if you're rubbish at golf, the banter will be magnificent.
Brilliant. But the stories at Ruffy. Yeah. We've obviously worked with Ruffy and Macca on the after dinner circuit, and their stories are brilliant. And you might get 1 or 2 decent ones from me as well. But I think that's a great prize. And obviously they're going to be playing with me and my partner. So I'll be having a look, and hopefully there'll be a decent handicapper.
Well,
not an absolute hacker.
To be perfectly honest with you, thank you. To be perfectly honest with you, there are a number of people who've said, please, I mean, I don't decide who wins it, thank God, but there are a number of people who say, oh, please, I want to win that, but it could be you and a woman taking on those two. Yep. It could be, it could be somebody who, as you hope, is going to be a good golfer, because those two they're formidable as well.
Yeah, Ruffy's pretty straight. Obviously he's 72, he doesn't hit it far, but I've heard Macca's a good player, and I'm decent myself, so yeah, I think it'll be a decent game. And
always the reason why I love Frank is you can start a conversation with him, and then about 35 seconds later he's not paying attention. he moves on to something else. He's got the attention rate of a termite. It's absolutely fantastic. By the way, Brighton have taken a 2-1 lead against Chelsea. I mean, honestly, that club leaves me gobsmacked.
Somebody offering that, I think it was one of the bookies, 33-1 for Frank Lampard not to win a game this season.
Yeah,
I think they've got 8 games left, and they've obviously got Real Madrid again at home, but that might be not a bad shout either. Because
either one, it's got a better chance than my horse.
They are. Look at the money they spent, and they are rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Tottenham are 2-1 behind to Bournemouth as well. So Norman's got a great line. He says, Peter, my first bet was a £5 on Red Rum. I don't know if you know this, but because you come up to a major event, well, I was going to say, don't knock Norman, by the way, because I have to tell you, as a little boy, I think I was 8, Tam, in 1973, and Red Rum won the National, and it was just fantastic, and people didn't actually realise it, but then he goes and wins it again in 74. He finishes second in 75 and 76, and then wins it again in 77. And winning it in 77, it was just so emotional. Red Rum was just an absolute superstar of a horse.
Yeah, well, obviously I've seen the videos, it's a bit before my time, but to win a Grand National 3 times, because obviously every time you win it, the next year you're carrying more weight, the jockey and whatever, and the fences back then were brutal. I've seen some of the clips on YouTube, and they were about 8 feet high, these fences. And so for that to win 3 times is the greatest horse. I was down at Aintree in December actually, with a couple of friends, and we've seen the big statue to Red Rum down there. I've got photos took beside it and all that, but yeah, Tiger Roll's one of them in recent times that won it a couple of times. So no, it's a great race. Everybody loves watching it.
Yeah.
And hopefully all the horses and jockeys come back safe and sound, and you manage to back yourself a winner.
Yeah, could say it any better than that, Tam. Dunfermline are 5-0 up in Queen of the South. It's just a gala day there, isn't it?
It is. I remember playing for Falkirk against Dunfermline, and they had to beat us to win the league. And they battered us 3-0. It was a full East End Park. I'm sure it's full today. Great atmosphere at Dunfermline.
Yeah.
Big club. Listen, I played with them in the Premier League, and they're in League One at the minute, so should never be in that league. They should always been. For me, Dunfermline's a top flight club.
I think so.
A top flight, same with Falkirk. They've got great supports, nice stadiums, big clubs, and great for them. I hope Falkirk join them actually. I hope Falkirk join them back in the Championship, because
strangely enough, as an early reporter, the best time of my life was being a reporter at Radio 4th, and I had only one remit, which was just basically, you must know the managers at Raith Rovers, Dunfermline, that was my beat, Hibs and Hearts.
Yeah.
So
East Coast.
Absolutely. Jim Jeffries, in, coffee, tea, Alec Miller, nothing.
Big dower, wasn't he?
No, well, to be fair, in later years when I got to know him better, Alec was a gem of a man, but he's just so guarded when he was a manager at Hibs. Jimmy Nicholl, every journalist's dream. I mean, he was superb. And Bert Payton was the manager of Dunfermline.
And Bert, was Dick Campbell there as well, his assistant?
Yes, and it was just brilliant. I mean, honestly, managers who just made your life easy, and of course, great happy days. That's what it's all about. Football. You can give us your thoughts as well. Great to hear from Norman there, giving us his thoughts on the National, and lots of people talking about the scorelines today, because quite simply, there's a few people looking and thinking, what's happening at Ibrox? 2-2, Tam.
Yeah, and as I said, I think St Mirren are in great form at the minute. The only team that's beat Celtic this season. I know Celtic rested a few players, but if you beat Celtic in a one-off game, you're a decent team. They're playing with a lot of confidence at the minute. They're in the top 6. Stephen Robinson's doing a fantastic job there. And I felt that Rangers might have a wee hangover for last week, the Old Firm game as well, and the criticism that came with that. They know the league's gone now, so maybe the wee bit of intensity would have dropped at Ibrox, knowing that the league's gone. But yeah, there's still time for either team to win it, but St Mirren get a point, they secure their place in the top 6, so they'll be desperate to try and hold on to that point.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I got quite a good tan out there in Portugal, but Paul Brady's just sent a message saying, "Oh my God, Peter, I was obviously born the same year as you. Your paper round was brutal." Obviously, we can't see Paul, who could be sitting there looking like Herman Munster, but we just got to take his word for it. He's kind of get the chiseled jaw and everything. Tom, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying to you. But we undoubtedly will ask him for a photograph. Send your photograph. Get it on our Twitter, Paul. Just send us a photograph. That'd be great, because so many people who are on YouTube, you don't get to see them. They come up with all sorts of different names, but some people actually just use their own name as well. But I have to say, it's an afternoon in the Scottish Premiership with maybe not a surprise in some of the games, but certainly at Ibrox it's 2-2 at the moment between Rangers and St Mirren. And Stephen Robinson, I think some people maybe raised an eyebrow and said, okay, you've taken a good few scalps along the way, but can you really go to Ibrox and put a wee shock in? And the answer to that is no, because Rangers have just scored. It's 3-2. Rangers 3, St Mirren 2. So there's still time, but he's certainly putting up a fight there. You've got to hand it to Stephen Robinson. Motherwell 1, Dundee United 2, Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0, and that derby that finished earlier on at Easter Road is Hibs 1, Hearts 0. Elsewhere, Cove Rangers 1, Inverness Cali Thistle 2, Dundee 2, Morton 3. I think there's another goal in that match. It's 1-1 between Thistle and Ayr United, which neither of them want that to finish 1-1.
No, they don't. Thistle, I think, will be in the top 4. I think Ayr United are now under increasing pressure, particularly if Morton win and Inverness win. So Ayr United seem to be one, I think, in that league that's maybe vulnerable to dropping out.
Yeah, Raith Rovers 1 are both 1 in the League 1. Clyde are 2-1 up in Edinburgh. Dunfermline 5-0 against Queen of the South. Well, Falkirk behind by 2-1 to Airdrieonians. Kelty Hearts and Alloa can't find a goal. Montrose 2, Peterhead 0. And in League 2 it's Annan 3, Albion Rovers 0. Dumbarton leading by a goal to 0 at Bonnyrigg Rose. East Fife 6, Stranraer 0, Elgin City 2, Forfar 0, and no goals between Stenhousemuir and Stirling Albion. Incidentally, if you're looking at what's happening elsewhere in the Premiership, what a day for Aston Villa, 3-0 winners at home against Newcastle United. But the shock might be at Stamford Bridge again, where Chelsea continue to flounder. Chelsea 1, Brighton 2, Everton 1, Fulham 3, which really Sean Dyche can't quite get the magic together there. Southampton 0, Crystal Palace 2. A 75-year-old manager called Roy Hodgson can get it together there. Wolves 2, Brentford 0. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Bournemouth 2. Man City take on Leicester. And suddenly everybody is now thinking Man City are going to catch Arsenal and then surpass them once they get them at the Etihad. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that was obviously last week. It was a fantastic game, Arsenal-Liverpool. I think if Arsenal could have held on to that, I think they would have been massive favourites. I think they've still got a little bit of leeway. I think the pressure's on Man City to beat them. They've got to beat them. I think if Man City do beat Arsenal, I think they'll have the momentum to go and win it and possibly win the treble. They're still in the FA Cup, they're in the latter stages of the Champions League. It's not happened, I don't think, since 1999, Man United. And it could be the noisy neighbours could repeat that this season. So obviously got a few games to play, but it's a thrilling climax, I think, to the top of the league and possibly the top 4 in England as well. Brighton are in the mix as well for top 4, and what a job is it De Zerbi's done there at Brighton. So yeah, it's actually been better to watch this season. Usually as a club, a team running away with it in the top 4 and whatever's. But still a lot to play for in the Premier League.
Incidentally, if you're looking for things to watch as well as our one-to-ones, there's a lot of fun on there. Adam alluded to it earlier. We've got the challenge. We'll be going around various clubs, not only at the end of this season, but over the summer as well. You get a chance to see if from the halfway line you run as fast as you can, in and out the cones, and then try and beat the goalkeeper. It's speed, skill and strike. And the challenge was at Livingston a couple of weeks ago.
Well, here we are at Livingston, the PLZ Challenge, and I'm delighted to say the cream of Livingston Football Club is here to try and beat Ali Crawford's record of 7.4 seconds. And of course, Shyness from PLZ, the greatest footballer never to be signed by anyone, Adam Binney, is going to show the lads what to do. Oh my God! That's on camera! That is fantastic! Oh, that is brilliant! That's made my day!
Here! He's running about with a cone in his boot! He looks like one of the dogs with a lampshade on!
It's just a brilliant line from David Martindale. 4-2 to Rangers now. 2 goals from Morelos. They grinded out Rangers out with the games against Celtic.
Yeah, I think they've got the firepower. I don't know. I didn't see the teams. I don't know if Morelos starts the game or come off the bench, but they've got plenty of firepower, Rangers, in the latter stages of the game. That's why, obviously, 5 substitutes as well benefits the bigger clubs, Celtic, Rangers. They can bring quality on, but. Yeah, St Mirren have put up a good fight, but it looks as if Rangers are going to win, take the 3 points, and St Mirren probably still need something next week to secure the top 6.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know about you, Tam. I mean, apart from anything else, yes, I don't think you can argue with the whole league and the way it's alive at the bottom. The middle sometimes has got something to play for. Once you get to the split, people top 6, bottom 6. The top at the moment, Celtic are absolutely dominant, but it keeps things alive.
Yeah, it does. Listen, I think the league's done, but in terms of Celtic, but the race for the top 6, the race for European places, Dundee United look as if they're going to pick up a massive 3 points, and I think that would drop Ross County at the bottom of the league after them losing last night. Kilmarnock, you wouldn't expect him to get anything from the game against Celtic. St Johnstone getting heavily dragged into it as well. All of a sudden they, from being safe, they are banging it as well. So third place is up for grabs. Aberdeen have came from nowhere, so it's great. It's great we've still got something to play for, and that was the great thing about the playoffs and the split.
Yeah,
everybody should have something to play for.
It's incredible because Ross County would drop to the bottom on 27. Kilmarnock and Dundee United would be on 28 points, and then St Johnstone on 32. I think Motherwell more than safe on 36, but nevertheless, when you look at the way the points are shaping up here, it is a lie between Livingston and Hibs to get into the top 6 down to the wire in the last game next week. But when you look at that bottom end there, Dundee United suddenly, it's amazing how you can transform your career from the misery of what was going on at Aberdeen to Jim Goodwin now suddenly sparking a revival at Dundee United, if they can hold on obviously today.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of time to go, but if Dundee United go and beat probably one of the form teams in the country in Motherwell, away from home, that would be a fantastic result. Gets them off the bottom of the league, back-to-back wins. And you're right, football's a funny old game, whether you're a player or a manager. 1 week you're down in the dumps, low on the snake's belly, and the next week you're high as a kite and you're on top of the world. So that's just football in a nutshell. And Jim Goodwin, I think, epitomises that, from the depths of despair at Aberdeen, getting sacked and walking off at Easter Road, to possibly going in there and saving a club that looked doomed.
Yeah, he's 7-0 up now in Stranraer. Scott Arfield has just made it 5-2 for Rangers against St Mirren. So suddenly a game with maybe 15 minutes to go that was looking nervy for the fans inside Ibrox. It would have been tense, and then suddenly Morelos, couple of goals, eases the tension, and then the icing on the cake, Arfield to make it 5-2. We'll hear from Kerry Pollock and her thoughts on the 90 minutes there. We've got reporters at all the games for you. We've got Ali Graham out there at Partick Thistle against Ayr United in the Championship too, and there's much more to come on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Share it with your friends, tell your mates if you're near, if you're in the UK, or indeed if you are an expat. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line, and of course our competition prizes, we're going to get as many of them out to you this week, as well as obviously announcing the winner of the golf too. So lots to look forward to on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and as we just showed you there, it's well worth watching the challenge for a bit of fun. And James Penrice's finish,
I've seen it,
which is absolute class. Interestingly enough, we will hear from Ange Postecoglou and Derek McInnes ahead of Kilmarnock against Celtic. I was reading Chris Sutton talking about if Celtic wins 7 games to beat the points tally in the league and they win the treble, he says it's up there with anything in the club's history. I don't share that view, Tam, at all. They may well win the points record, which deserves tremendous credit, but it's in a poorer league with not as high a quality player as some of the previous trebles from previous managers. I hate to say that, but the standard is not great.
No, I totally disagree with that as well. I think that I can remember playing against the Martin O'Neill team. I was in obviously the Hibs side that lost in the Scottish Cup final. Celtic won the treble. 2000, 2001. And that was as strong a league as it's ever been in Scottish football. You know, not only Hibs, we had Russell Latapi, Frank Sosey. Hearts were very strong. They had the two Scotland centre-halves, you know, Webster and Presley and Paul Hartley, guys like that. You know, Motherwell were strong. You know, Livingston were a very, very strong team as well. So, no, I totally disagree with that. I think that the overall standing, you only have to look at the league table. There's only one team out with Celtic Rangers with a positive goal difference, and I think that was Hearts, which I think they're still +1. And the rest of the teams are minus. Yeah. So that just shows you that Celtic Rangers are hammering everybody else. Nobody's capable of taking points off them, bar St Mirren obviously when Celtic rested players. But I don't think there's the same competitiveness in terms of going to. If Celtic Rangers back then went to Easter Road or Tynecastle or even Livingston or Motherwell, you think we chance an upset here. You know, they're decent. Now you just think Celtic Rangers will win it easily.
Yeah, 5-2 to Rangers at Ibrox against St Mirren, and that was after St Mirren got an equaliser again through Mark O'Hara to make it 2-2, and then Rangers just going through the gears. Morelos with a couple in Arfield. If you're going to score a goal, late injury time is probably the best if it's a stalemate. That's what was the situation between Stenhousemuir and Stirling Albion, and Carrick's just popped up with a 93rd minute winner.
Dazza Young will be delighted tonight. He'll be a glass of wine tonight. That same just about sealed that league.
Yep, I can tell you, Dunfermline are the champions, and they will be heading back to the Championship because, quite simply, they've defeated Queen of the South by 5-0. And well done to James McPake. I'm a huge fan of James. I think he got a raw deal at Dundee. And to see him as a manager at Dunfermline and getting the success, he's learnt a lot, and I think, you know, there'll be happier times ahead, even more happy than today, I suspect, for James McPake when he's wiser, older as a manager, and he goes through those emotions that sometimes you're not in control when a boardroom decides to change you when they really shouldn't have.
No, I thought he was very harshly treated at Dundee. I think they'd just come off a great win at Tynecastle, beating Hearts. They were still in the mix, and they sacked him. He's went on and done a great job at Dunfermline. I think if he was still at Dundee now, I think they would be romping the Championship. You know, I'm not convinced about Dundee this season and the manager they've got in place at the minute. They've got it to go over the line. You know, they've a great opportunity today at Dundee to all but seal the league. If they beat Morton, they've lost it. It's back in the mixer. And James McPake, their previous manager's away winning the league in a cant at Dunfermline. So, no, I'm delighted for James, delighted for everyone at Dunfermline Football Club. Still know a lot of people there, a lot of pals there. Great club. And I'm delighted that they're champions today. And
I mentioned there that Alfredo Morelos has got a couple of goals, and I think William Smith makes a good point. Morelos putting himself in the shop window because, quite simply, I think however many goals he scores between now and the end of the season, quite a lot of Rangers fans will realise that he'll be off ski and he won't be wearing a Rangers strip next season. I wonder what people thoughts will be on his contribution eventually when they look back on it.
I think they look back on it positively, Peter. I think for £1 million, he's provided unbelievable value and service for Rangers. I think that he broke Ali McCoy's record in Europe in terms of scoring goals. He was part of a great run, getting to the Europa final. And you know, I think he's had spells, and it's been very much a love-hate with the Rangers fans. You know, he's got himself sent off stupidly several times. You know, in other games he's been an absolute hero at Rangers. So I think the fans have, you know, loved him at points and hated him at points, but I think overall, when you look at his contribution for £1 million, he's probably one of the best value signings that Rangers have ever made. He'll move on this summer somewhere else, so it's up to him.
I have to tell you, it's Dundee 3, Morton 3. I told you there was another goal in that match.
That's good.
So it's an equaliser for Dundee, and boy,
that could be a massive goal, Peter.
Well, I was going to say to you, boy, did they need that goal? You know, big time.
That's a huge result, a huge point from 3-1 down, and as I said, I think you take that with 3-1 down at Dundee, but they were always going to keep coming forward to try and get that equaliser, and it looks as if they've maybe nicked a point there, but
well, do you know
still brings it back in.
Well, I was going to say to you, Dundee still would be top of the table.
Is it 2 points clear?
One. Against Queen's Park.
Do you know that they play Queen's Park in the last game of the season away from home?
Fantastic, isn't it? And Partick Thistle, with that scoreline at the moment with Ayr United, nothing would change, just a point
so
between them.
What Inverness, how far are they behind Ayr United? How far are Inverness behind Ayr United now?
Inverness behind Ayr United by, well, they would be drawn level with them, but Ayr United have got a better goal difference.
Yeah.
So
Inverness play Dundee next week. No, listen, it's a great championship this season. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it's been the highest quality. The games have a lot of competitiveness. I don't think it's the greatest quality, but Queen's Park still in the mix, Dundee still in the mix, so that could be a huge goal for Dundee.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get full-time reports coming in. It's Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 1. We'll hear from Ali Graham out there at Firhill, giving us his assessment of the game and, of course, the implications for the playoffs in the Championship. Congratulations to Dunfermline, they're League One champions after a 5-0 win today, and that is really a brilliant result against Queen of the South, and really the icing on the cake for James McPake. Celebrations at East End Park, not quite celebrations yet at the Scottish Premiership with Celtic, knowing that if they keep winning, then May 6th, I think, they will, of all days, I was just about to say, of all days, there's nothing like having a noise up, but Celtic could win the title May 6th, and then from there, I think, many managers, once the title is over and once the places are confirmed, as they get into those last couple of games, it's a chance for some players to say farewell. It's a chance for some to still try and stake a claim for a future at a particular club, because quite simply, Tam, it's not a glamorous life for a lot of Scottish footballers and footballers playing in Scotland, because there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty over a summer period.
Yeah, listen, I've been in that position myself, Peter. It's a horrible time. You go from playing and getting paid in May, go away on holiday, and if you're out of contract, you're on your phone to your agent, what's out there? Nothing. You've got the wife saying what's happening, the bills coming in, and there's a lot of guys, and even the Scottish Premier League Championship, not earning a lot of money, not earning great money, can't afford to go 2 and 3 months without a wage, and then when you're out of contract, you're trying to keep yourself fit, you're out running yourself, maybe around public parks, or training yourself in the gym, and it's hard to keep motivated when there's nothing coming in. So no, it is, and there's so many players out of contract every year, and it's getting worse. I feel more sorry for the younger players who have not got a bit of a CV behind them of a good level, because some of these younger players will end up drifting out the game altogether, or even down to junior level or whatever. So no, it's a hard time at the minute. If you're a football player and you're out of contract.
Yeah, I must admit though, it's a good time if you've been banging in the goals and certainly catching the eye of scouts up and down the country, and I think Duke for Aberdeen will be one of those players that a lot of people are looking at. 6 goals in the last 5 games, and when you look at his contribution, especially the winner last night against Ross County on a celebratory night, because that was the 120th anniversary of Aberdeen being formed. 120 years of history, a win, and Dons now won the last 6 games with 11 goals scored and 1 conceded. What a transformation.
It's amazing. You look at Aberdeen have won 6 in a row and Hearts have lost 6 in a row. So there's your 18-point differential straight away, right off the bat. And Aberdeen were absolutely miles off third. They were drifting towards the bottom. But I watched the game last night. I thought the Aberdeen fans, made a tremendous atmosphere. They were buzzing. The club's on a high at the minute. They're winning games. They got the goal early with Duke. I thought they defended terrifically. They brought in a couple of players in the window. I didn't know that was Jamie Pollock's son. Jamie Pollock at Man City.
That's right.
He's absolutely double him, but he was outstanding at the back, along with the big guy McDonald. So they've brought in 2 or 3 players at the back to steady the ship. They're keeping clean sheets. They're dangerous at the other end with Duke and Miovski, and they are firm favourites now for third place. And what a job Barry Robson's done up there, because you looked at them prior to him coming in, and you were thinking they could get relegated. They're that bad. 6-0 at Tynecastle, 5-0 Easter Road, down to Darvel get beat, and all of a sudden they looked a totally different team, totally different unit, transformed, hard to break down, hard to beat. I think the good thing was they got rid of the big boy Anthony Stewart, who cost Jim Goodwin his job. He was hopeless.
Yep.
They got rid of him. Barry Robson made a great decision to get rid of him to MK Dons. So no, I think he's delighted with the squad he's got now, and they're the only ways up.
Yeah, absolutely, and over and above that, when you consider what's at stake, not only the finish for third, the points, the money that comes into the equation as well for your league position too. It'll all be welcome up there at Pittodrie, and also if you get a chance, if you are an Aberdeen fan, you can go into PLZ Soccer and just revel in a bit of nostalgia, because I caught up with Alex McLeish last week, Tam's old boss. He was talking about Gothenburg, 40th year, the anniversary since they defeated Real Madrid, and this is just a little flavour of some of Alex's chat on the road to Gothenburg.
We're up a level again, Real Madrid in the final, but the teams previously then they were sticky, you know.
Apart from Watershai.
What shy was, the brilliant home performance, 5-1, and I remember Sir Alex used to invite the old pensioners in to watch training and stuff, and bring them in the back. There was a wee room at the back where he gave them tea and that, and one of them was waiting on me the day after the 5-1, and he said, "That away goal could be dodgy."
Alex shared a lot of brilliant memories. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. He was in fine form, and I was with him yesterday as well, and he was just looking magnificent, And he said to me, if you're coming down to Wimbledon for the championships for a wee bit of tennis, I might just be a lodger,
Big X. I liked him. I really liked him as a manager.
Yeah,
good guy as well.
Great lad.
Done well at Rangers. Done well wherever he went.
What do you make of this, Tam? Hibs 1, Hearts 0, Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0, Motherwell 1, Dundee United 2, Rangers 5, St Mirren 2.
Yeah, the first thing that obviously springs out is Rangers 5, St Mirren 2. It looked as if for a long time it was a competitive game, but I've been in that situation. I remember being 2-each with Hibs at Rangers, and they got into the last 20 minutes we get beat 5-2 as well. Sometimes you just get overwhelmed with the quality in the last 10-15 minutes. You're doing that much running and chasing about that their quality tells in the last 15-20 minutes. And that's what happened again today at Ibrox. Livingston bouncing back, beating St Johnstone. St Johnstone now bang in the mix to get relegated. They are the one club for me that's in free fall at the minute, and the last two results have been horrendous for them. Dundee United won in 2 games as well, and they've lost 2, and they're playing Hibs next week, who need to win to get in the top 6, and they're going to take a massive crowd up to McDermott Park. So I think if you're a St Johnstone fan, you're getting very, very worried at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. In the Championship, well, as ever, like the Premier League, every point is a prisoner, and certainly today, game of the day we thought was at Firhill between Partick Thistle and Ayr United. So much at stake. Of course, Dundee and Queen's Park are certainly two teams battling it out to see who's going to win the Championship. But what about the playoffs? The Jags have got themselves in a good position. How did it go today at Firhill with Ali Graham?
Full time here from Firhill, and it's Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 1. It really was a game of 2 halves. Thistle took the lead in 15 minutes through Scott Tiffany, who hammered the ball into the bottom corner from 18 yards to give them a well-deserved lead. But it was a different team that came out the second half. Ayr gradually grew into the game, and they could see the Thistle players getting really nervous as well as the home support. In 72 minutes, Darren Brownlee made a mistake just outside his box. The ball fell to Jaden Mitchell-Lawson. He crossed it to Dipo Akinyemi, and he took the ball home. 1-0 here at Firhill. The Ayr fans will be going happier, but both teams still sit 3rd and 4th in the league. A cracking game. Final score, Partick Thistle 1, Ayr United 1.
I love Big Ali. He's absolutely revelling in this job now, and as the weeks go on, by the way, he'll eventually have the cigars out. I'm telling you.
I said that. I spoke to him this morning, and he's gradually grown into it. I think it's different. I would find that difficult as well, speaking into a camera rather than speaking on the radio, because you can get away with it. But I think it's more difficult doing what Ali and Alison McConnell's doing and the other reporters. So fair play, and it sounds as if it was a cracking game. Ayr United Partick Thistle game of 2 halves. Partick Thistle flying. And I think they'll be disappointed. I think if Partick Thistle could have hung on and won the day, they were just still in the mix to win the league.
Yeah.
But that takes them out it completely, I think. But yeah, United, it's such a great race now. You're looking at all the clubs. Morton still in it, Inverness, Ayr United, Thistle. So still a lot to play for in that league. I just noticed that Forest Green Rovers got relegated. Do you think Duncan Ferguson will be throwing the vegan pies at the players after the game?
Yeah, I think there might be a few people actually just getting the sharp end of his tongue. But I wouldn't like to win the dressing room.
No.
William Smith says, Peter, did you watch your man Modric against Chelsea in midweek? Some player using the outside of his boot. Well, that's why we love this programme, because we love talking about footballers. Doesn't matter who they play for.
Mike Williams said that about Modric. We go, this is another 2-minute chat, and you go.
No, I was just going to say to you, I love Modric. Listen, if you want me to write down the players that I love, obviously King Kenny's up there because he played. He's
a favourite of all time, Ken Dalglish.
Absolutely, and I was sitting next to him. I was sitting next to him yesterday.
Imagine his ear just ringing.
Well, his ear.
Kenny, you're the best.
His ear wasn't ringing.
Your goal against Rangers.
His ear wasn't ringing. It was wet because I was just licking it. Anyway,
not a sight that I want you to imagine.
He's like, get off. Anyway, apart from anything else, Modric, absolutely fantastic. Xavi, Iniesta, Pirlo, midfielders, fantastic.
I think you like a midfield player that doesn't do a lot of running.
Yeah,
you like a technical player.
I like a player who can actually lift his head, know what's happening. Yep. The pass is already there. Paul McStay was another one. Paul Gascoigne was one as well. Who anybody who's got a great technical ability, who can come and take the ball off the centre halves and know exactly how to get people out of trouble, coming in and playing the pass, and certainly absolutely fantastic. And I have to say, when you look at what's happening in the Scottish Premiership today, you love to see a bit of quality, and when somebody produces that wee bit of magic, it sticks with you. Fans go home and they talk about it as well. I think maybe St Mirren fans were thinking to themselves they were going to go home and talk about Mark O'Hara's performance, but then up pops Morelos, and then Arfield chips in and Rangers get a 5-2 win. We'll hear from Kerry Pollock shortly on that win today, and we'll hear from the managers before we go away, so it's well worthy of sticking with us as well. And give us your thoughts, because we read them out. James has pointed out Barry Ferguson. I think Barry Ferguson is another person that I had nothing but admiration for him, till obviously started kissing the badge on here, and then boom, out the door.
I've played against Barry loads of times at Rangers. I thought he was a fantastic player. Difficult to get close to him.
Brilliant.
Played against him, hated him on the park. He was mouthy. He liked a mouth, but I just really disliked him. But once I got to meet him, I thought he was a great guy, like cracking guy, down to earth, good guy. And it's a mate. Scott Brown's the exact same. People have got this impression of Scott Brown being a mouthy and arrogant and all that, and if you met him, you couldn't meet a better guy. You know him as well, and it's amazing that you've got a different persona on the pitch than you've got off it, and they're just players that the opposition fans hated, and you wanted in your team. Yeah,
Kaiser makes a great point as well. Well done, Kaiser, for pointing it out. Jim Bett was a brilliant player at Aberdeen. He was a good player at Rangers, but I think the Aberdonians love him. Ronnie Chapman's just absolutely slaughtered me here. He says, Tam, you're right. I've seen Peter play Airdrie. He thinks he's Kenny.
I've seen him playing fives, by the way.
Well,
he struggled to get round the fives part.
With all due respect, by the way, I had to go for a hip operation. I'm playing with one leg and you're criticising me. I couldn't believe it. I was gobsmacked. That's 57.
That's when I put Big Ivan Drago in his arse.
Oh yeah, that's exactly that big guy who was
just bullying me Gabs.
There was a boy there. I love playing against players who just their whole game is just to absolutely try and kill everybody else on the park, and he was one of them. Thanks very much to, listen, a lot of people are giving us their thoughts on quite a lot of the games today and the implications for them. Thank you very much to also a number of people pointing out that it is the anniversary of Hillsborough for the 97 fans who sadly lost their lives, and I think that's something that Kenny was just off the park.
Massive, wasn't he?
He was attending huge funerals. He was. I think that's why the people of Liverpool absolutely love him. He's a god down there.
Yeah, he is, and I think obviously the pressure of all that as well told an end when he had to leave. But when you look at the Hillsborough, you look at Kenny Dalglish, he was a massive part of that and a massive comfort to the families. Going to all the funerals, I believe, went to every funeral. Went and seen the families. He was an absolute legend down there. We've obviously built a stand over him as we seen down there.
Absolutely, it was magic, wasn't it? Well, you didn't see it, you couldn't see anything, you were absolutely bladdered. Let's hear from Kerry Pollock at Ibrox.
Full time here at Ibrox, and the scoreline reads Rangers 5, St Mirren 2. All started with Todd Cantwell finding the roof of the net from James Tavernier's cross in the first half, but then it was Mark O'Hara that got that all-important equaliser, a great volley from inside the penalty area into the second half. It was Borna Barisic's free kick that found the head of Fashion Sakala for Rangers to take the lead as they nodded it past Trevor Carson. It was Mark O'Hara again getting the second equaliser of the day, a similar goal to his first, this time into the bottom left-hand corner, and then it was a double from Alfredo Morelos to secure the win here today, and Scott Arfield coming off the bench and then getting his name on the score sheet as well. I'll get the reaction from Stephen Robinson and Michael Beale very shortly. Full time here at Ibrox, Rangers 5, St Mirren 2.
Yeah, I think Michael Beale will be a happy man. He did say that he was looking forward to it. He was trying to put out an exciting team, experiment, look at players who might have a future and those who clearly will not have a future.
Yeah, listen, I think that if you're a Rangers player at the minute, I spoke about in the show yesterday, and you want to be in the team now, it's a great time for Scott Arfield to come on and score a goal. I think Morelos, he's away. I think he'll go somewhere else. I think he's probably agreed something with another club anyway, but the players that want to stay at Rangers. I think Scott Arfield would want to stay at Rangers. And it's great for him to to get a goal. And just to remind the manager here, by the way, I can still do it. I've still got into legs to come on and contribute. So, yeah, I think. Listen, I think at 2-2 there was a lot of nervousness inside Ibrox, but eventually came through and win the game comfortably.
I'm just looking here, in the Grand National, the start has been delayed, Tam. So clearly there are worries. There are a number of issues that surround the race. Obviously, quite a few people not happy with what's happening with protesters who don't like the race, certainly animal rights activists as well. And I think basically at the moment I can tell you that there's been a quick update saying there's going to be a delay, so it's never nice to hear that. And of course, as Tam rightly points out,
delayed to 6:05, you might be able to watch it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't think it's going to be, but as you rightly point out, people just want the horses to get round the course successfully and without any mishaps along the way. Thanks for so many of you who are mentioning, players who's going to be in the running for the Player of the Year. The nominations I think will be out very shortly. They've certainly got the voting slips out there for everybody to have a look, and the players will pass their viewpoint on who they think is worthy of it. It's the players that decide. I don't know why people sometimes get their knickers in a twist about it all, because the players are voting for their fellow professionals.
Yeah, the PFA obviously is the Players Association. It's the players that vote for the players. And we've spoken about it a couple of times. There's maybe players that you don't like and whatever, but at the end of the day, that's probably a better one as a player to win, rather than maybe the newspapers voting for your fans. But I think your fellow players voting for you, I think means more.
Oh, absolutely, it does. I think May 14th. You're looking forward to it, by the way. I've got you on the list.
I am. But I'm going to Mercia at 3 a.m, so I need to work my way around that one.
You're sitting next to your old gaffer as well.
Right,
he's sitting next to you, so make sure you behave yourself. What about Fir Park today? Patrick Mullen was there.
Full time here at Fir Park, and it has finished. Dundee United 2, Motherwell 1. What a second half of football we have had, and Dundee United's 2 second half goals see them steal all 3 points here today. It was Motherwell that took the lead in the 20th minute through Kevin Van Veen. A quick 1-2 by Max Johnson and him. The initial save was saved by Berengeti, but he got the rebound and slotted the ball home. It was a quiet first half of football, but this game was brought to life in the second half. In the 60th minute, it all came through Niskak, and he got his opener. The ball came down the right hand side, it gets cut back to him, and he slots the ball into the bottom left hand corner to send the Dundee United fans into the frenzy. But it got even better for them. Just 5 minutes later, Stephen Fletcher was in on goal. He tries to hit the ball round Liam Kelly. He was tripped up and penalty given. Up sticks Jamie McGrath, who slots the ball into the bottom right hand corner, and the 1,400 travelling fans of Dundee United were going mental. An incredible game of football, and it's back-to-back wins for Jim Goodwin's men that sees them climb up to 10th in the table. But at full time here in Fir Park, it has finished. Motherwell 1, Dundee United 2.
I just love Patrick. I mean, he could make
it. Seems as if he's a happy guy now.
Well, not only that, but he could make
enthusiasm.
He could make a 0-0 that's drab. He could have made that Hibs Hearts game sound exciting.
He's some man.
I should have switched him around, but absolutely fantastic from Patrick. Absolute joy to have him with us, and of course we've got a lovely mix of young and experienced people on the show, and hopefully you're enjoying our coverage of it, and it's going to get bigger and better for you. It's digital, it's absolutely free to watch, and again, as people move away from terrestrial television, Tam, they want it on their phones, their tablets, their smart television, where they can pick and choose on YouTube. There's nothing better than coming to an emerging team that we're building bigger and better every year.
Yeah, as you said, the world's changing. People are on their phones, their computers, whatever, their tablets, and they want to watch. And if you want to watch Scottish football, getting spoke about at length on a Saturday, with live updates and people coming for the grounds, and I think this is a show for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't think we'll get a t-shirt for that, by the way. It won't work. I prefer this is not the show for you one, for those who slightly step out of line, although we don't get that many of them these days. I think I don't want to kind of attempt fate, but I think maybe we're moving in the right direction with it. Just briefly, down south, there's a few surprise results down there as well. Aston Villa 3, Newcastle United 0, Chelsea 1, Brighton 2, Everton 1, Fulham 3, Southampton 0, Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 2, Brentford 0, and Tottenham Hotspur 2, Bournemouth 3. What a result that is. Tottenham Hotspur at home. You just never know what you're getting with them this season. Man City take on Leicester City at 5:30. We're going to hear from Ange Postecoglou very shortly as well. But it's been an interesting afternoon where the Edinburgh Derby really was the focus of attention for us coming on here at 4 o'clock. We heard live from Adam at Easter Road reflecting on that. One goal scored by Kevin Nisbet, and he took it well.
He did take it well. He was unlucky before that not to score, but he took it well. Ball came across, he's on the move, nodded back across goal and he puts it in the roof of the net. And as you said, it was one kind of real bit of quality in the final third. There was a lot of huffing and puffing from both teams. A lot of sweat and toil, but not enough quality. But those games that I played in many of the games, that's what they're all like, Peter.
Yeah.
They're all 100-mile-an-hour battles, tackles, 10 bookings in the game. So the referees was busy as well. I think Paul Hanlon was lucky not to get sent off at the end when I think he brought down Shankland. So listen, it was one of those games where it was a bit of a physical battle, and the one little bit of quality won it with Kevin Nisbet. And I think if you look at Kevin's numbers, they're up with anybody. He missed the first part of the season with injury, but I think he's got 10 or 11 goals now in 13 or 14 games. So his goals to games ratio for Hibs this season is tremendous.
Yeah, and I must say, just at this point, unless you thought differently, not the same furore at the end of the game for John Beaton, who was the referee in charge with this one. Nothing really contentious that I can think about that somebody would have highlighted, and I think it's only right that a number of people have pinpointed that the abuse of referees, it's just got to stop. You cannot get to a situation where a referee and his family are suddenly in the firing line for abuse from supporters because they don't like a result or a decision within a game. Thankfully, the Edinburgh Derby seems to have passed without any great consternation over a decision.
No, I don't think there was any big decisions the referee had today. I think it was always going to be the case, Celtic v Rangers, if a big decision went against one of them, that referee was going to get it severely in the neck. Unfortunately, it was Kevin Clancy, and as we spoke about it, and both managers have come out and said it, the players make mistakes, managers make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, and it shouldn't be pinpointed to one individual. The reason why he lost a game, he didn't get a decision, and I felt sorry for Kevin Clancy. The pressure on him going into that game was absolutely enormous. I thought over the piece he refereed the game well, and listening in the rule book, it's a foul, and if it goes to VAR and they can't overturn it, it's not a clear and obvious error, then they're not going to overturn it either. So I thought the stick and his email getting handed out and his address and all that, and his kids getting it, it's absolute disgrace, and hopefully that doesn't happen again, because you're going to find referees are going to end up either going on strike or they don't want to referee that fixture because it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you on that one. Give us your thoughts on the overall scores today and the implications for your favourite team in the Premiership, Championship, League 1 or League 2. We'd love to hear from you on that. We should be able to hear from Alison, who watched a convincing Livingston get back to winning ways.
Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0. Goals from Joel Newbley and Stephen Kelly restored Livingston's form and ensured that Davy Martindale's side go into the final game before the split with a top 6 finish firmly within their grasp. This was a dominant display against the St Johnstone side, who offered very little until the closing stages, and it was reflective of a fairly abject run of form of late from the Perthshire side, who have taken just 2 points from a possible 18 across their last 6 games. Inevitably, this result will raise question marks over the long-term future now of Callum Davidson. Livingston could and should have had more. Bruce Anderson had a goal chopped off for offside, while both he and Christian Montano had good chances at the start of the second period to add to Livingston's scoreline. Graham Carey had an effort cleared off the line by Morgan Boys in the final stages as St Johnstone tried to rally, but it was desperate and ragged from St Johnstone, who now find themselves firmly entrenched in that bottom side of the table. Finishes here at the Tony Macaroni Arena. Livingston 2, St Johnstone 0. Stay tuned on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel to get all the player and manager reaction.
We'll score that by the end as well. You're happy with that?
I love that. Ali's absolutely magnificent.
He's plugging at the end.
I've known Alison for about 20 years. She's a first class reporter and journalist, and magic to have her with us. And there'll be lots more from Alison content wise. She has her Monday column as well, and greater depth to it than any other column that's going about on a Monday. Just thought I'd tell you that while we're here. So Alison on the Monday giving you her thoughts thoughts on the Premiership as well. Always good to hear her, and she'll be giving us the manager's thoughts as well, because Livingston needed that win.
They did. They've been on a dreadful run at the minute, and it seems to be there's a few clubs in the league going these kind of runs. It's important to stop the rot, and it still keeps them with a chance at the top 6. I think they're away to Dundee United next week, which is not going to be an easy game when you look at the form that Dundee United have managed to hit at the minute, and Hibs are away to St Johnstone. So, listen, for Livingston to even have a sniff of the top 6 is testament to the job that Dave Martindale's done. I think they've got the lowest budget in the league, and they should be 11th or 12th, on budget, but they're punching above their weight. They're sitting 7th at the minute. They've still got a chance to get in the top 6, and they've taken it down to the last game. So I think that was either going to go two ways, that game. Obviously Hibs winning, it was a 4-point gap. It could have been easy for Livingston to feel sorry for themselves and think, nah, we're not going to make it, but they came out and they won the game comfortably, and they keep themselves in it. So all to play for, and next week will be exciting, because there's there's still a spot in the top 6 up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course the good news is I think the jockeys are looking as if they're coming out of the Grand
They are.
National
I've got
as
it
well.
here on my phone. I was just watching it, Peter, and some of the protesters were getting huckled with the police. So it looks as if the jockeys are out, and the race should be starting soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you up to date with the Grand National too. Let's not forget, must just mention, Tam, as we get the reaction from the managers and players for today's games. First of all, good word for Aberdeen. Good win last night again. And again, Barry Robson just looking at it and saying to himself, the run that Aberdeen are on, the consecutive wins, 6 now, and 18-point swing, third place, looking far more clearer now as we head into the split than it was a good few weeks ago when people were wondering where Aberdeen were going.
Yeah, I think obviously they've hit form at the right time as well, Peter. We always speak about it's better to finish the season strongly than start the season strongly. I think they've been helped, by Hibs having a wobble, Livingston having a wobble, Hearts having a wobble, but all they can do is win games, 6 in a row, keeping clean sheets. They've got 2 guys that can score goals up front. Sometimes you get 1 goal scorer. They've got Majowski and Duke, who have been banging in goals this season. So, no, listen, I think they're in prime position to get that third place, and there's no doubt about it. If Aberdeen finish third this season, Alan Burrows will be looking nowhere else bar Barry Robson for the job long term. I think it would be an absolute sin if you don't give him the job if he finishes third. So listen, he's in the driving seat to get that job full time. They're 5 points clear. Tough game against Rangers next week, but Rangers will not enjoy going up there in front of a packed Pittodrie with Aberdeen in good form.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to hear from Ange Postecoglou and Derek McInnes, because obviously the last game of the weekend will be Kilmarnock against Celtic down there at Rugby Park. I just wonder about this now. They're heading towards trying to finish the season with the 7 consecutive wins. How do you assess Ange Postecoglou in this second season?
I think he's, bar one blip with St Mirren, where it's probably the only time I can think that Ange has taken any criticism this season. Was the decision from him to rest a lot of players before the international break. It backfired. I thought it was the wrong team he picked. But bar that, Peter, the points total, the goals total, the entertainment they provide when you watch them. They're all out attack. They're relentless. 9-0 up at Dundee United. And they had a go in the Champions League. Listen, if you're a neutral, you'd enjoyed watching Celtic. If you're a Celtic fan, doing frustrating at times, thinking, we're 1-0 up or we're in the game. Why not just shut up shop? That's not the way people know now that that's not the way Ange Postecoglou's mind works. His mind works: get the next goal, keep trying to score goals, keep trying to win games. I don't think there's ever been a point in Ange Postecoglou's reign where he's thought, right, it's time to just sit in and park your bus. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that makes for entertainment, and that's what Celtic supporters want to see. They want to go and watch a team that's desperate to score goals, desperate to win games. So, no, I think second season he's been fantastic. I think the beginning of last season, it was at 3 defeats in his first 6 games. A lot of Celtic fans have been thinking we've made a boo-boo here getting him in. But I think if you asked 100% of the Celtic fans now, they'd love to see him, at the club, forever, because they enjoy the style of play.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as their run, you're talking about it there. 36 wins, only 5 defeats, 3 draws in the last 44 games. It's been absolutely incredible under Ange Postecoglou. I think the greater judgment for him as he assesses his Celtic side to try and make them better is getting a side that's capable of doing something in the group stage of the Champions League, which they undoubtedly will be involved in, and then from there, can he get them into a knockout phase? I think that would be a huge success when you consider the difficulties Scottish sides face financially going into these sorts of games in European football. And I, for one, want to see Celtic, Rangers, a Hibs or a Hearts or an Aberdeen get into the group stages and the riches that follow from there at every scale. We certainly want our coefficient points to increase as well. Steve Clarke doing a great job for Scotland on that as well. As far as tomorrow, it's Celtic on an artificial surface at Rugby Park. Will that alter the manager's thoughts? Certainly he does tweak it a little depending on certain players on artificial pitches.
Yeah, it comes into it. Definitely, there, particularly. I mean, without it sort of being this particular case, but if you got certain players who maybe would feel the effects of a surface like that, you take that into consideration definitely. From our perspective, I've said before, the game's a little bit different on the artificial surface. Doesn't really change the way we play. We still want to try and sort of play the football we play on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but when you consider the quality that he has as a starting 11 and what he has coming off the bench, it's no surprise that he says it doesn't change their style. Maybe he's a little more careful with certain players who certainly don't suit that surface.
Yeah, I think it takes a certain type of player, a more robust player to play in AstroTurf. Played it a lot in my career as well. As you're getting older, the effects of playing in AstroTurf, twisting and turning your joints. And I think if you're a technical player, I think you like to play in AstroTurf, and Celtic have got tons of them. So whether he goes more technical rather than maybe power, and certainly in the wider areas, it'll be interesting to see what his team is. But I think whatever team Celtic put out, they'll have too much for Kilmarnock. But Kilmarnock have been strong at home this season. One of the best home records outside the Old Firm, and I think they'll give Celtic a game. But I just think that Celtic's strength and depth, you spoke about there, 60 minutes you can bring 3 or 4 off, put 3 or 4 on. And if you're a Kilmarnock player, you think, they're actually bringing better players on, are just as good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're bringing subs on, you think, well, they'll be a bit weakened. Celtic seem to get stronger as the game goes on. That's difficult for teams to cope with.
And not only that, Tam, Killie need the points at that bottom end. They're level with Dundee United. Dundee United got a better goal difference. Derek McInnes, I think, first and foremost, just wants to avoid relegation this season, but certainly if he's still there next season, he has to try and build a team that will not be in a similar position.
Don't want to be doing this again next season. We want to make sure our objectives are far higher than just staying in the league, but we need to deal with the here and now, and the here and now is just making sure we get enough points. I believe we've got the players in the squad that can do exactly that. It's all right saying it and believing it. It's the other party that's supposed to go and do it. Our home form's been good, and we recognise that that's going to be a real strength for us over the next wee while. But we also recognise that we're probably going to have to pull a couple of big results off, and Sunday would be one that we could really hang on to if we can do that.
Yeah, it's a huge ask for Kilmarnock to try and produce something there. You can give us your thoughts on how you think that match is going to go. Thanks so much to so many of you for your comments as well on an afternoon when it looked as if St Mirren could have provided a shock at Ibrox, but then Rangers started to go through the gears, looking towards Alfredo Morelos and then Scott Arfield. A double from Morelos made it comfortable in the end by 5-2, and an unusual situation, which is quite simply that James Tavernier, Rangers did get a penalty. Tavernier didn't score, which is a rarity. I can't remember too many penalties. I remember he did put one. He always likes to put it into the top corners, and I remember one where it was a dreadful pitch. I can't remember the place where he put it right over the bar, but they're rare.
Yeah, I think they're more risky, those ones. If you're taking a penalty kick and you're going high, if you hit it well, the keeper's not saving it. But there's a wee bit of risk if you just get underneath it a little bit, it goes over the bar or whatever. But you're right, James Tavernier rarely misses penalty kicks. That would have been a blow at the time, but Rangers going to win the game comfortably. But it'd be interesting to see if he's still on the penalties next game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think he will be. If you look at his goal scoring rate, it's incredible. I think if you weren't working here, Tam, today of all days, would you have gone to Aintree for the National?
No, I'm too busy.
Yeah,
too busy down there today. But I like to go in December.
Yeah,
it was a wee bit quieter December for the Beecher Chase meeting. But no, listen, I think they're lining up to go off anyway. So I think a lot of people will be tuning in. But we'll keep them informed.
Can I ask you something? If there were 3 major sporting events I could give you a ticket to, what would they be?
Number 1,
yeah,
the Masters.
Right, okay.
Number 2, the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
And number 3,
wow,
Champions League final.
Champions League final? Well, okay. It's funny you saying that. Probably out of all the 3, I'd probably Wimbledon final, definitely, and then a World Cup final, which would be absolutely fantastic to commentate on. Certainly would be something really, really special, and I think a Super Bowl is certainly up there as well. Definitely, just to see
I'll have to go to the Masters. That's my number 1 bucket list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you going to try?
If anybody out there can get me tickets, then I'd love to go next year.
Even if you don't get on with them and they're not really get the same comment you've just got.
I'll take a freebie. As long as I'm not a serial killer, then we're in.
Okay. If there's anybody out there other than a serial killer, Tam has highlighted it for you. Well, the Grand National is off and running, as they say, after a disruption, a delay, and we can only presume that a few animal rights activists were certainly not happy that this main event was going to go ahead, and they tried to disrupt it, but the police I think have been able to intervene, and quite simply now it's everybody looking, it's mums and dads, kids up and down the country just hoping that their £1 bet or their £5 bet comes up.
It is, and there's a couple of falls at the first fence that we can see there, and there's nothing worse if you've went down to the bookies and you fought the first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's 2 years away.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Although, to be fair, I'd love to have been a fly in the wall in 1967 when everybody's sitting there and there's just one wee guy in the pub who's got a £5 on Foynaven at 100 to 1 when every horse falls at that.
That's right. It slipped or something. The winning post.
Yeah, everybody was. The Beechers, they all fell,
right.
and he was only horse over, and then the rest of them were so far. They were 100 yards behind him, and they just couldn't catch him, and he ended up winning it in 1967. It just shows you it's one of the most famous things that you could see in a sporting event. As far as this afternoon is concerned, we had Aberdeen winning at Dingwall last night. Duke scoring the goal, 6 goals in 5 games for him. He's been superb. Will he be in the running for the Player of the Year as a nomination anyway? Is there a Player of the Year that you think is outstanding? Give us your thoughts on that on our feed on YouTube. Don't forget you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You get a lot more than the football show on, and if you download the app you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips and on the website as well. Comment, video, things that you can read that will cover Scottish, UK football, European and football on the global stage as well. So it's all there for you to enjoy, and we do hope that you tell your fans and your friends all about PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. So with that in mind, it's an afternoon when Motherwell took the lead in their match against Dundee United, but Jim Goodwin back-to-back wins, as Patrick Mullen mentioned. We hopefully will hear from Jim Goodwin shortly on that, because it's a 2-1 win against Motherwell. They fought back to win it by 2 goals to 1, and that's a big one for United.
No, I think it's massive. I think last week, they found themselves last Sunday 5 points adrift, and all of a sudden from being 5 points adrift, 2 straight wins, they're now off the bottom of the league, and a lot of Dundee United fans will go back up the road tonight delighted with that result. As I said, Motherwell one of the form teams in the country at the minute, and to go there and win the game, and get yourself off the bottom of the league. It's been a long time since they were off the bottom of the league. So all of a sudden it pulls Ross County back to the bottom. You've got Kilmarnock, who don't look as if they're going to pick up any points against the champions in waiting, Celtic tomorrow, and you've got St Johnstone pulled back into it. So listen, I think it's going to be a great end to the season. Once they get into the bottom 6 split, those head-to-head games are massive.
Yeah, 2 wins in 12 now for Dundee United, but it's back-to-back wins, and that's the significant thing for Jim Goodwin. And I mean, Jim Goodwin was a good manager at St Mirren. It just didn't work out at Aberdeen for whatever reason, but suddenly they seem to be responding to him up there at Tannadice.
Yeah, they do, and I say it's horses for courses on the day of all days. He done a great job at St Mirren, and Aberdeen, it didn't work out. I thought he made a mistake, not only signing Anthony Stewart, but making him his captain, I thought he was poor. He let him down a couple of times in big games. Red card away to St Mirren, red card in the semi-final.
Yeah.
And in big moments and big games, he let him down. I'm not just saying it's all down to him. Other signings didn't do well either, but
wasn't exactly a leader, was he?
No, I think it was the wrong choice to make a captain, and that kind of filtered through the team. And 5-0, 5-0 at Tynecastle, 6-0 at Easter Road. Big, massive travelling support going down, to Darvel. So no, they were poor under Jim Goodwin, but he's went up to Dundee United. You don't become a bad manager overnight. Managers, most of them get sacked. I'm talking the bigger ones, Alec Ferguson, whatever. But most managers get sacked at some point in their career and bounce back. And I think that Jim's doing that at Dundee United. He's got a decent pool of players up there. And listen, you just got to try and keep them in division.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good day for David Martindale's Livingston. They defeated St Johnstone by 2-0. So suddenly, everyone that you talk about, there's pressure on a manager, and then it switches away from Livingston to Callum Davison at St Johnstone, because they are in free fall, as Tam mentioned there. They had 1 win in their last 7 matches going into this. That's now 1 win in 8. But Livingston suddenly making it interesting between themselves and Hibs to get that top 6 finish. So we'll get reaction from managers and players as well. Let's go into the Championship, because it was a draw that maybe didn't quite suit the Partick Thistle manager Chris Doolan. Let's hear what he had to say.
It's still a lot to play for, still all to play for, but you see other results now, and it's just this stage of the season. These things happen in the games. But we have to make sure that we have been great at not giving teams anything. If we maintain that, we have got firepower to get goals at the other end. But for now, in the season, if we can take as many points out of the games as possible, then we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, fairly philosophical about it, but he wanted the win today, didn't he?
Yeah, it was great that he managed to interview Chris in the toilet as well, in the home dressing room. It was fantastic.
I know, it's a strange
it's not a very appetising press room, is it? No, listen, Partick Thistle have been in the playoffs. I think that I think their chance of winning the league's gone. With that draw today, if they'd won the game with Dundee drawn, then maybe they'd have been still in it. But
what's their chances of winning the playoffs?
I think they've got every chance. I think they're going to have Dundee United, Ross County, possibly Kilmarnock in the playoffs. I think the important thing is to try and finish second. I think if you finish third or fourth,
you've got a long way.
You've got that. You've got a 2-legged game, then you've got a 2-legged game against the second team, and then you've got a 2-legged game against the second bottom team.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to that 2-legged playoff final, you're absolutely knackered. I think there's only one, correct me if I'm wrong, there's maybe only one in recent times that's done it, and that was Hamilton Accies when they beat Hibs.
That's right.
I think it's very difficult to go to lift yourself for 6 straight games within a short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking, Tam, from today's games, as well as obviously Kilmarnock taking on Celtic tomorrow, and we will have reaction from that across all our social media channels, so don't forget to follow that. Suddenly you've got next week, before that split, the big games, Dundee United against Livingston, huge. Hibs are at St Johnstone, as you mentioned, but the last game before that split, Aberdeen against Rangers. Suddenly an inform Aberdeen against Rangers. That for me, it looks like a mouth-watering tie, because Celtic have been relentless. We know the league is just almost over now, but that game's got a wee bit about it.
No, listen, Aberdeen Rangers, that fixture's always massive. There's always a bit of needle in those games. And Aberdeen in tremendous form, 6 wins out of 6. They will fancy their chances. I think that will be a sellout, the way Aberdeen are playing at the minute. The fans are right behind the team, right behind the manager again, and Rangers never find it easy up there. Listen, Aberdeen should have beat them early in the season, and that was a contributing factor to Jim Goodwin getting sacked, that they couldn't hold on. Was it 2-1 up? Going into injury time, they lost 2 horrendous goals in injury time to somehow lose the game 3-2. So listen, it's up to them to defend properly and give Rangers a game, and I believe they will give Rangers a game next week.
Yeah, even though when you look, and it's quite, it's absolutely I'm gobsmacked when you look at it, but Rangers are 29 points ahead of Aberdeen. It should be a foregone conclusion. Realistically, Rangers just got up there and battered Aberdeen.
It should be, but it never works like that. And it's one of those things. If Aberdeen turn up on the day and play well, then they've got every opportunity. And I believe that Corach Rambler is going clear in the Grand National.
Yeah,
for Scotland.
Well, that would be unbelievable, because I think somebody actually mentioned...
running now.
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned actually that the Corach Rambler with Scotland, that would have been one to back. I haven't backed it, have you?
I'm on it, and it's needs to keep going, by the way, because it's dying a death here.
Yeah, are you significantly on it, just out of curiosity?
I've had a few quid on it.
Yeah, okay then. I can tell by Tam's face.
And I'm going to say that Corach Rambler has won the Grand National for Lucinda Russell.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely delighted. I'm absolutely delighted for everyone at a Scottish stable. You know, for them to come down to Aintree and win that is absolutely fantastic. I hope it's Corach Rambler and I'll not get this horribly wrong, but it looks like the colours, purple and yellow.
Okay. Well, let's hope.
Let's hold the fort here.
I was just about
Corach
to say.
Rambler, and it's a favourite, 8-1 favourite. So the bookies will be.
Do you know the rest of them, just to see if I've my each way is?
Well, the second.
You can't. It's a grey as well.
It's a grey horse.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think we're ever going to really move on to racing as the two who are going to
John McCrinnick.
Thanks for that. But
well, hopefully I tipped it. I said the horse I'd backed was Corach Rambler, so I hope some of the viewers were on it.
Yeah.
And incredible scenes.
Yeah, 8-1 favourite as well. Yeah,
that's it. I think I got it about 12-1 this morning, so I'm a happy man. I'll tell the wife that I won 20 quid.
Yeah,
she want a cut.
Absolutely. And there again, it's all about.
You'll get the places up here in a minute, Peter.
Yeah, well, we'll read them out. I can't tell you that in the championship, it finished Partick Thistle 1, United 1. It was one of our featured games today in the championship. Ali Graham was there, and he got the thoughts of Lee Bullen to a 1-1 draw against the Jags.
With the quality players they have in their team, there's always a threat. And as you say, we stayed calm at the right time, even going the goal behind. We had to do that last week when we had a freak goal score against us and come back. The lads have showed a lot of resilience, and it's amazing that how important that single point becomes at this stage of the season. I think Partick and obviously Inverness are the two form teams in the league at this precise moment, and for us to go out and put a performance on against one of the top sides on form at the moment is really, I'm so proud of the boys.
Yeah, I think he's just highlighting the fact that maybe there are teams there with better resources. If Ayr United were to win the playoffs and get in to take on the Premiership clubs, that really would be a shock, to be honest with you.
Yeah, listen, I know Lee Bullen well.
He was a good player in his day.
He was. I played against him. He was at Dunfermline. I was at Hibs. Liked a night out as well. I used to see him in my regular haunts in Edinburgh. Big bully. And then he was a coach at Falkirk. He was assistant to Stephen Presley. He was a great coach. He had a lot of great passing drills and all that stuff, and he used to go off his head at me because I was brain dead when it came to intricate passing drills. I just like to do simple things.
Yeah, like score.
I wasn't interested, and eventually he just told me, Tam, just you stretch off, don't come in, because I kept ruining his drills. But I'd love to United, another one of my former clubs, a brilliant wee stadium down there, Somerset. You know, a throwback. It's probably been the same since it was in the 60s and 70s.
So
even before that. It is, and I think it's important that you have grounds like that. I think
you do?
I do, Peter. I think it can be sanitised, all these brand new stadiums.
Yeah.
I think a Wraith Rovers supporter or a Celtic or a Rangers or a Hibs would like to go down that ground in a cup tie or an away game.
Yeah.
You know, so no, I'd love to see United, getting promoted, but I think it may be a season too early for them.
Yeah, well done to Paul Brady, who says it was me who mentioned the Corach Rambler. 22-1 he had it at.
Well, brilliant.
You know?
Actually, I was watching it was a preview before it, just before I came into the studio, and they interviewed Peter Scudamore, who's Lucinda Russell's partner.
Yep.
And they were in a camper van with their 3 dogs. They'd travelled down with a horse, and they said, how's your horse going to do? And both of them said he's going to win.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, that is confidence. And it did, and it won well.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Isn't it great that Tam even knows who's going out with each other? It's fantastic. He gives you all the insight into the racing.
It's good about an. Do you remember him, the ex-jockey?
Yes, I do actually. Don't forget you can join Tam on PLZ Soccer's racing channel at 12 o'clock tonight. It was an afternoon when we were looking...
places, Peter, by the way, I don't know if he'd any of them.
Not a chance, nothing. So there you are. Thank God nobody jumped on anything that I was suggesting for Aintree, but it's certainly one of those races where everybody looks back on winners from their own generation and maybe just has a wee tipple now and then. Everything in moderation, we always say. William Smith says, my horse is still running. And William, that sums up what everybody thinks about the Grand National. That if you're lucky enough to get one lucky year, you never forget it. Simple as that. But as far as today in the football's concerned, well, in the Scottish Premiership, Rangers were rampant eventually, 5-2 over St Mirren. Hopefully we'll get Michael Beale on before we get to the end of today to let you hear what the the Rangers manager has to say about that win. Also, we'll get a reflective Stephen Robinson. We have heard in the Championship from Lee Bullen and Chris Doolan, but in the Premiership we'll be getting the thoughts of Jim Goodwin after Dundee United came back from a goal down to win 2-1 at Fir Park. That's a huge win for the Tannadice side. And elsewhere, Livingston 2-0 winners over St Johnstone. And as Tam mentioned there, suddenly maybe the Saints fans are starting to get really nervy, because although they've got a little bit of a cushion, it's not huge when you suddenly get to a situation where you go to the split and you start playing all the teams around you.
Yeah, Peter, I've obviously said this in the show before. When I was at Dundee back in 2004, the game before the split, so this would be next week, we beat Dunfermline to go 12 points clear of them in Livingston at the bottom. 12 points going into the split, bottom 6 split. And we picked up 1 point from those 15 points, and we went down the last game of the season. So that's a rarity. Obviously, you know, I'm a Jonah, so that was obviously me. But there's no doubt about it, for me, St Johnstone can get relegated this season. I think they are a club that need a result for somewhere. They're going to go into those, and they're going to be playing Dundee United's, Kilmarnock's, you know, Ross County, teams that are fighting for their lives.
They're on 32 points, Tam. They've got a 4-point cushion at the moment.
From the bottom?
From the bottom.
That's nothing, Peter.
Well, 5 points from the bottom, then, which is Ross County, but 4 from the other two.
So that's nothing. You know, when you come head to head, you know, if you get beaten those games head to head with those teams, and you can find yourself in big bother. So, and that doesn't get any easier. They're going to play Hibs next week at home, who have to win to get into the top 6, and they're going to take, in my opinion, Hibs will take 3,000 or 4,000 up there, away fans, on the back of the great result today. And you know, who would put against Hibs? Hibs going to win the game. So St Johnstone are banging it. I think it's from looking as if it was going to be, in my opinion, a 3-way battle. I think it's now a 4.
Yeah, on the evidence of today, who's going down in your mind? Give us your thoughts on that. Who's going to be the player of the year? Who's going to be in the top 6? Who will be in the bottom 6? There are still so many undecided aspects of the Scottish Premiership and the Championship. Who is going to eventually triumph in places 2, 3 and 4? Who will eventually get the chance to play the second bottom team in the Scottish Premiership for the right to get to the Premiership, or indeed stay in the Premiership? That's all the different permutations. We want you to try and take a guess on it, because that's what it's all about in football. And thanks to so many of you who have subscribed to our YouTube channel as well, because the figures are going up and up. It's been absolutely fantastic for the full year. 20 million video views across our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook and YouTube. Subscriptions going up week by week, and lots of people enjoying our content, not just the football show. We've got the preview show with Kerry as well. We've been covering Champions League this year and Europa League, and it's been fantastic, Tam, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I think it's great that we're covering those games now, and it was a brilliant experience for us to get down to Liverpool. Obviously yourselves went over to Madrid, and it's great for Kerry, you know, and Adam going to, you know, whether that's Poland or Amsterdam or whatever, and covering the games as well. So no, I think it's great for the viewers to see us out and about at those games as well. I think it's something different from the day-to-day grind of Scottish football, to go and see us, you know, at Liverpool or Madrid. I think it's fantastic viewing.
Yep, absolutely. Lots more twists and turns, and lots more news for you to savour coming up over the summer period as well. Hopefully bigger and better on PLZ Soccer, as we try to do every year. Of course, Tam and Ruffy very much a part of that. You can keep us up to date with what you're doing and the games that you're following. I have to tell you though that we're talking about Erling Haaland. He scored a penalty. John Stones scored first of all for Manchester City to give them the lead against Leicester City. Then Haaland pops up with a penalty. He's just a goal scoring machine.
Peter, they are starting to hit top gear now. They are Walton teams.
Yeah.
You know, they're scoring 6 and 7. You know the other night, you know, unbelievable again against a good Bayern Munich team. You know, you whack them as well. Ties over. They are starting to hit their straps.
You think the tie's over? Yeah,
3-0. I think the tie's done, Peter. Especially there's no away goals or whatever, but I think the tie's done, and Man City firmly looking at the treble.
Can I just ask you, on the day when an Edinburgh derby is always eagerly anticipated, certainly I look forward to it like yourself, Tam, Easter Road buzzing, fans in the sunshine, certainly looking forward to what they were hoping was going to be an entertaining Edinburgh derby. Didn't quite match up to it for me as far as the quality, Tam, on show on the park.
No, but as somebody that's played in those games, Peter, there's never really a lot of quality in them. You know, and I'm saying that I was there when Hibs won 6-2, I get beat 5-1 when
commentated
Mark
that
DeVries
game.
scored the 4. And we came back Easter Road and there was Hibs fans throwing things at the bus. I played in the 4 each game.
Yeah.
You know, I've also played in a couple of 0-0s. So I just think on your day, you know, it just depends. If you get an early goal, it usually opens up. But if it's cagey early, you very rarely get a lot of goals. And it was always going to take one goal in the second half today to win the game. And Kevin Nisbet managed to get it. But there's never really a lot of quality in the games. But listen, Hibs fans won't bother. Hibs fans are used to playing well and getting beat. They played well in the Scottish Cup game, get beat 3-0. So listen, Hibs will take any sort of result today.
And I think in our Twitter, obviously we've posted the reaction at the end of the game. It certainly made the hairs on the back of Adam Binney, our reporter's neck, stand up. It was his first Edinburgh derby to cover, and I think it really... he was amazed by it. He was looking forward to the game, but at that end with the sunshine and Leith playing certainly caught him on the hop. He was taken aback by it.
Yeah, I don't think people maybe appreciate, you know, how big a fixture it is in Scottish football. It's a massive fixture, Peter, and I wasn't fortunate enough to play in an Old Firm derby, but I think the next best in this country is the Edinburgh derby and the atmosphere. I was lucky to play in a Dundee derby, which is a great atmosphere as well, but you know, the Hibs Hearts game is big for the people of Edinburgh. You know, there was a full house today, about 19,000 there. And you know, if Hibs win big games like that, they always play Sunshine on Leith at the end, and you get a great atmosphere. So delighted for all the Hibs fans, all the Highbees who will be celebrating tonight, but there's still a wee bit of work to do next week.
Yeah, don't forget also, as well as Killie against Celtic tomorrow, across our social media, we'll keep you up to date with what's happening. West Ham, Arsenal can afford no more slip-ups. I don't think so, or they'll be goosed. Because Man City are 2-0 up in Leicester, and remember, Arsenal and Man City at City's ground is still ahead. Nottingham Forest take on Manchester United in the late kick-off tomorrow, and then on Monday it's Leeds against Liverpool, and there's all sorts of talk about Leeds and Liverpool, and of course Liverpool with Klopp being linked with Jude Bellingham, and then saying that he's not going to be involved in some kind of bidding war for Jude Bellingham at Borussia Dortmund. He's going to be realistic, according to the Liverpool boss.
So, and that's the thing, you have to realize what you can do, and then you have to work with it. So how much money do we have available, and then you have to work with it, and that's the job you have to do. And it's not about, we are not children. When I ask a 5-year-old at Christmas, what do you want for Christmas? And I tell you, I want to have, I don't know, a Ferrari. You wouldn't say, oh, that's a good idea. You would say, no, it's too expensive, and anyway, you cannot drive it. So, and that's how it is. If this kid is then the whole life unhappy because he cannot get a Ferrari, that would be a really sad life. It's just what can you make, what can you do, and then you do it.
Yeah, I like Klopp, realistic about things, especially with the budget and whether it's worth spending about 100 million on one player rather than maybe looking at 3 or 4 or 5 that I think Liverpool need. That's down south. Up here we certainly give you the best of Scottish football. The majority of what we are talking about is all about Scottish football, and I hope you enjoy our coverage. Your man Patrick
fixed his hair, by the way. Have you seen that, Patrick?
I know he's fixing his hair, but he's always there giving us the excitement of the game. Patrick, it looked as if it started off so well for Motherwell, and then Dundee United getting back-to-back wins. Was it a game where United deserved the win?
In the second half, Peter, it was a completely different game for Dundee United. Motherwell were all over them in the first half. Dundee United had absolutely nothing. In the second half, it was just mental, to be honest. This crowd, the 1,400 travel, it was unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah, and of course the other aspect of this is Jim Goodwin. Patrick, he's had a tough old time up at Aberdeen, didn't quite work out for him. I imagine when you were in that press conference, he would have been waxing lyrical about what his players are delivering for him.
He's a very happy man tonight. He was talking about him going out for his wife with dinner tonight, and he'll be a happy man. He says if he lost tonight, well, that might have been him cancelling that reservation.
Yeah, absolutely. Managers are like that. You can tell exactly how it engulfs a manager. As David Martindale was saying to us, sometimes even the dog knows if he's lost a game.
Yeah, I think the pressure on these guys, Peter's unbelievable. Managers and coaches at top end, particularly now with the instant success that managers, supporters demand in social media and everything. You're all maybe only 3 or 4 bad games away for getting the sack everywhere, and that's not just in Scotland, that's in England and everywhere. So I think the pressure's enormous, and you must just feel a sense of relief when you get 3 points. You can go home and you can chill out with your family, and you don't need to worry about getting battered in the press next week.
And Patrick, did you get a sense from Jim Goodwin that he feels this side can push themselves away from, never mind relegation, possibly get away from that playoff position as well?
Yeah, 100%. He said that as well. The side weren't quite there yet, but he thinks they're good enough to definitely stay up this season, and he thinks it's a long way still to go. But he believes that this side is up for the fight and will be this season.
Okay, I think the minute he took his earphones out there, Patrick, I think the minute he took his earphones out, we lost him completely on this.
I thought he was in a submarine there when he took them out.
Absolutely, but he's
earphones out.
Stupid. We lost it there for a couple of minutes, but Patrick giving us the gist of what was happening at Fir Park. Great win for Dundee United, thanks to Patrick Mullen, who was covering that game for us, and he's been out at so many of the games. Yeah, well done, Patrick. We've got reporters everywhere, Tam, and that's what we're going to try and do, because the whole world's moving digitally towards their phone, their tablet, their PC, and if they can be sitting on a bus watching us and our reporters out there, that's the future. Terrestrial television dead.
Yeah, it is, and as I said, we are the up and coming channel. Hopefully the viewers and subscriptions go up and we can stick with us, because there's plenty more to come. Particularly with big European games maybe next season, with maybe Celtic and Rangers both in the Champions League, hopefully.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Tam, are you of the opinion that you've been to Liverpool? Certainly, if there was one place you'd like to go that you haven't been yet, is there something that sticks in your mind?
I've been to the Nou Camp. Went there for my 30th. My wife took me. Went to the games. I've never been to the Bernabeu, which you said is tremendous.
Yep.
I'm trying to think another one off the top of my head, which I would maybe like to go to, maybe Ajax's stadium, something like that.
Fantastic.
But anywhere, Peter. Anywhere will do it.
Yep, okay, there you are. There's a man, and I can tell you right now, Patrick was talking about Jim Goodwin. Let's get his thoughts on that win today at Fir Park for Dundee United.
For all the possession that we did have in the first half, we probably didn't create enough with it, and the disappointment for me is that the Motherwell goal comes against the run of play, and it's a pretty basic goal from our point of view, and it's what we need to do better going forward in the coming weeks. We need to try and start keeping some clean sheets. It's been something that's been very hard to come by throughout the course of the season, but we need to cut out those basic errors.
Yeah, because that's the type of thing that can make or break you when it gets to that bottom half, when everybody's playing against each other.
Yeah, I think if you're keeping a clean sheet, Peter, it gives you a chance, the opportunity to win every game. You only need one goal to win the game. They're fortunate in the last couple of weeks they've managed to score 2 goals, but he's right, they've got to start keeping some clean sheets and and picking up more points. As I said, if you can get into that pack, they were 5 this time last week. They were 5 points behind, and that's a difference a week makes. They're now off the bottom of the league with 2 wins, so they'll just try and keep that momentum going, but it's all going to come down to the head-to-heads in the split.
Yeah, Rangers reduced the gap to 9 points against Celtic. Now at the top of the table, Celtic can put that back to 12 with a win over Kilmarnock tomorrow. Don't forget to cover and follow all our social media channels. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get all the breaking football news and the updates on that match at Rugby Park, as well as interviews with managers and players. All our unique video content is there for you. On a day when Rangers won by 5-2, it's a delighted Dundee United manager Jim Goodwin with that win over Motherwell. Livingston with a 2-0 win. Tam, David Martindale will be happy with the points there. It's been a long time coming.
Well, his dog will be happy as well, so he'll not go and boot it tonight when he's after getting beat.
Yeah, I don't think David ever boots his dog, but I just thought I'd highlight that.
Listen, he'd be delighted to stop the rot, Peter. They seem to be losing a lot of games 3-0. It seemed to be a regular scoreline. Livingston 0, Sunday 3 over the last few weeks, so he'd be delighted to keep a clean sheet and win 2-0.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, just before we go off here, we will hear from the Rangers manager Michael Beale talking about that 5-2 win over St Mirren. So with that in mind, if Aberdeen are celebrating an 18-point swing with 6 consecutive wins, Barry Robson certainly the man of the moment. What about Hearts? They lost to Derby today, 6 consecutive defeats. This time it's the interim manager Stevie Naismith looking his wins, but no arguments overall in the 90 minutes. Lee Johnson a happy man.
Yep, and delighted for Lee Johnson and his staff. I think a lot of Hibs supporters, when they seen the team, they thought it was maybe a wee bit cagey, a wee bit negative, but he got it spot on. The guys in the middle of the park were outstanding. Jake Doyle-Hayes in particular, Joe Newell, brilliant, won the midfield battle, and Hibs deserved to win the game, no doubt about that. They created the better chances, they were the better team overall. Thought Hearts were poor and created very little. So that's got to give Hibs a lot of confidence going into a big game next week away at St Johnstone.
Yeah, it's going to be down to the wire to see who's going to get into the top 6 and the bottom 6, and of course who is going to get relegated, who's going to be in the playoff. Who did you pick at the start of the season
to get relegated?
I had St Johnstone.
I think I might have had St Johnstone as well, Peter.
Yeah,
I think I had St Johnstone as well.
It's going to be interesting to see. Who did you have in the second bottom place? Can you remember?
I think it may have been Kilmarnock.
I think Ruffy had Kilmarnock as well. I don't think we had. Did we have?
I don't think anybody had Dundee United about the bottom. I think maybe Ross County, but I think most of us had St Johnstone after the way they finished last year.
Okay, what about the quiz, Tam? How many teams over the last...
I said 35, I think that's a tad high.
35 is a tad high because the quiz question was, how many different Champions League winners has there been since 1955 when the tournament started under what they called it, the old European Cup? Well, the answer was 22. 22 different teams have won the European Cup and the Champions League as it is in its current format. What about the competition? Last chance for you to enter. Here's a little take on it from Tam and Ruffy.
This week's competition is a chance for you to play a round of golf with Tam McManus against myself and Frank McAvenny.
To enter, you must subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and answer this simple question. Which World Cup did Frank McAvenny and Alan Rough both play in? Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. That's a good prize. Chance to go out there with Tam, Frank and Ruffy as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The last word here today goes to a happy Rangers manager, Michael Beale.
Well, look, we wanted a fast start to the game and we got it in terms of getting the penalty and then we missed it. They've been going great guns, and to be fair to them, Stephen set them up to come and press us today. He played with the two strikers, and I thought they did have a go. I thought our first goal was an excellent one, some really good play. Some of the stuff we've been working on, passing and running, it's nice to see Todd get beyond the two strikers and score. And then you're hoping that we kick on, but what I thought we did is we overindulged a little bit. We've become a little bit tippy-tappy. We forgot that when we lose the ball, we have to go and press and be fast across the grass. And I thought we'd become passive. I was really annoyed with the first goal. We take nothing away from the boy, O'Hara. It was a fantastic strike. But if you rewind back, we've got a 4v3 in the attack. We're very wasteful in that moment, and our reaction was dreadful from everybody. From Todd after shooting, from the reaction of people running back, the back four drop off. There's a cross ball, crossfield ball. We don't get out to it. A cross, another cross. And it's a horror show for us. So I told them that at half time, and I expected us to come out and be better second half. We came, we scored again, and then you're thinking, okay, we'll settle down and go again. We let in another sloppy goal, and then it's the changes from the side. It's the change of shape, it's the changes from the side that go on to win us the game. It was emphatic in the end. Again, we've had over 20 shots and 75% possession, whatever it is, and the last goal I'm being told is 60 passes, so that's not something that happens very often.
Yeah, happy. Michael Beale, Rangers winning 5-2 against St Mirren. The story of the afternoon, the big game, the Edinburgh Derby at Easter Road. Hibs win it by a 1-0, scored by Kevin Nisbet. A happy day for Lee Johnson, the Hibs players and the Hibs fans as well. Elsewhere, Livingston with a 2-0 win over St Johnstone, and Callum Davison with a little bit of pressure now for the St Johnstone manager as we head towards the split coming up. And at Fir Park, well, back-to-back wins for Dundee United and Jim Goodwin. He can go out tonight with his wife and enjoy a Saturday night, as the Dundee United fans will undoubtedly do as well. We'll bring you all the updates from Rugby Park, Kilmarnock against Celtic, and on Monday Tam will be here with me and Ruffy on the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you on Monday.